Well, we are back, huh? We're back at the 9 Club, everybody. Today, we have two very special guests. Mr. Jamie Thomas and Chris Cole are in the building. Thank you guys so much for coming.
Yeah, thanks for having us, man.
Yes.
It's a blessing to be here.
Jamie, it's a blessing to have you here. Thank you so much.
This is an iconic duo right here.
Bro, we've been doing the duo episodes, and this is a duo of all duos right here.
Agreed.
You know? You okay?
I'm good.
I wish we got the first half on film. Oh, we do have it on film,
I'm
technically.
sure it's somewhere.
Yeah, that was pretty damn funny right there.
Yeah.
Maybe we could chop it in there.
This is great, man.
Editor's cut.
Yeah.
It's because you guys drove all the way up here for this monumental moment. Appreciate this.
Oh,
this
yeah.
is like, might as well be, Hall of Fame right here,
Jamie got here on time. I was late.
Yes, you were.
Yeah.
Well, Jamie got here really early.
I thought I was going to be late.
I thought he was going to be late, too.
Is this something that happens between you guys? Are you usually on time and you're usually late, or is that a thing?
I don't think that we hang out in appointment style setting very often. So,
But if you guys are going to go skate together, is one of you on time and one of you is always
usually
late?
we meet at 0, and
Yeah, we're pretty
people
punctual.
would go from
Okay.
Yeah, that was going to say.
Yeah.
Both
Okay.
seem pretty punctual.
So what was the deal with being late today?
Me?
Yeah.
You know what? It just seemed like everybody wanted to put their car in a ditch.
Okay.
It was like from the wood shop back to the house, take care of the dogs was a lot of traffic. From there up here, a lot of traffic. It's a thing that happens. You kind of, normally you would plan that into your day.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't. That's it.
Okay.
And the only reason I was early is because I was trying to hang out with Ian from Jinkum.
Oh, yeah.
And so I left early thinking I would have time to go to Echo Park and then come here, but didn't.
Okay.
So I was actually late somewhere.
Oh.
Did you go? Did you
No,
go?
I just called him and we
You
talked
said
on
just
the phone.
did- okay.
Yeah. It was too much by the time trying
Yeah.
to get from Echo Park to here at between 4 and 5 wasn't possible.
Driving to some place in LA before going to a different place in LA on the same day
Yeah.
feels like when you used to go to New York and try to skate like Flushing Meadows and then skate the Pyramid Ledge, like and like Brooklyn Banks, like you're getting like 2 maybe, like maybe.
Yeah.
Sure.
I'll admit that I've never done that, but that sounds cool. To hit 2 of those spots in one day sounds real cool.
Listen, we got to go back to when you guys met. Where it all started. I'm assuming it started in the yellow camo days when you guys first met. But before that,
Yeah, we met before that.
where'd you guys meet? Like initially?
Oh, well, should I tell the story? Because,
Yeah, go ahead.
Because I remember it.
Okay.
So
Oh, you're saying Jamie doesn't remember it?
well, no, like it wasn't as big a deal to
Sure,
Jamie as
okay.
it was to me, right? So Jamie's memory of it is the new memory that he made from my story of it.
That is 100% true.
Yeah.
Okay.
That
So-
sounded amazing.
So, in Philadelphia, Sub-Zero had a contest. Sub-Zero was a skate shop there. And they were down on South Street. They had a contest at Rizzo Skate Plaza underneath the bridge where there's like a DIY now. And I skated that contest, and I was 11 years old. It was my first contest. Skated that contest. Fast forward a while, 411 number 7 comes out. It had the contest results at the end of 411 number 7. It also had a Jamie Thomas profile. I went down to Sub-Zero to buy that issue of 411 when it came out and skated from South Street to City Hall. Lo and behold, Jamie Thomas is in Philadelphia filming for Heavy Metal.
Wow.
So he's there, and I'm
I like how you're using my full name still.
Jamie Thomas. Because
At this point,
Doesn't he just always call you this?
At this point, he needs both names, right? We don't know each other.
Okay.
Right? So I come up to him. I'm like, "Hey, you're in this issue," and he's like, "Yeah, I am." And then we talked about like just random, like I'm a fucking kid, so I'm talking about like dumb stuff. But he was super cool, and that was it.
That was the first time you guys made a but you don't remember
Yes.
this though, Jamie.
So I do remember meeting him because I had a James Kelch shirt on that said James with a flower.
okay.
Yeah.
And I was wearing it, trying a line at City Hall with Wolf. And he came up to me and said, "Hey, that's my name." And I was like, "Okay, cool." And later I found out, when he got on Zero and we, reconnected, actually we probably were on a circuit trip, and he told me about the meeting where we met at City Hall. And then I remembered when he told me, like, yeah, you had a James Kelt shirt on and my name was, and I was like, wait, your name's not even James. And he's like, no, it's my first name, James Chris Cole. And then I was like, I see. I put it all together now. But anyway, so I had remembered that.
Gotcha.
And then him telling me the story kind of brought it back. But it was only about, at that time, it was 2000 probably. We're on a circuit trip somewhere, New Mexico or something. And he's telling me the story.
Right.
And anyway, it was only 5 years ago.
Well, just for like a time reference, when was that day that you met him in Philly? Like what year?
It was July 17th.
19.
Well, when did Heavy Metal come out?
Probably be,
Heavy Metal.
It would probably be
95.
95 zone.
Okay.
Somewhere around there.
Late 94, early 95.
Before Zero started.
Yeah.
Right. Huh.
Yeah.
So when did you guys connect on like, I'm going to put this dude on Zero?
Well, that came after circuit trips. So that was like way later.
Yeah, so I had an appreciation for Cole skating and helped get him on Circa too. I went to Tampa Am and was like, this dude Mirko Mangum, who's a good friend. He was a TM at the time and the marketing dude. And I went to Tampa Am to look for, new AMs for Zero and just to be there with our AMs. And I came back and like the two names that I gave Mirko was Colt Cannon and Chris Cole.
With both riding for Circa. Right?
Yeah, no, Mirko's
both with C names.
Yeah,
4 C's.
That's a lot of C's. Yeah. And you Chris Roberts.
C squared times
5. Let me ask you a question. Is this because this is, I think it was in the documentary, is this the time where you met Chris and you were telling him to kind of about his style, No, but you're laughing.
This is where I was the villain of the Chris Cole documentary.
Now, did you get villainized for it? Did people really?
Yes. That the documentary needed a villain in that part of the documentary.
It's interesting.
Some horns.
Me telling him to stop pushing Mongo if he wants to have a career
and
in
change his
skateboarding.
clothes.
I didn't say that.
That never happened.
That never happened.
Okay.
That
Just
never
Mongo. I think that's a legitimate thing to say to somebody.
I was saying what everybody was thinking.
There you go.
Yeah, but
Totally.
no one was saying it.
No, you know
And
what?
how did you take that?
It was unsolicited, though. I will tell you, it was unsolicited.
He didn't ask if
was.
He didn't
It was
say.
very hurtful.
He didn't say, "Hey, man, do you have any advice for me?"
You just said, "Hey, man, I have some advice for you."
Yes. And you know what though? Like it is one of those moments where it was like the tough love that you didn't get when you're in your like hometown, right? Like it. So there was a moment where I was like, either be really sad that he said these things and do nothing about it, or actually think about what he did, better yourself. Like
what he did.
What he did to me.
So it was pretty mild.
I was just gonna say, I think it's legitimate though. You know what I mean? Because I think there's always some kid that you want to help out. You see something in them, and I think even just watching skate videos or just knowing what's going on in the industry, you're always like, oh, if that dude just did this, if he just changed this,
Sure.
He could be, they could be incredible. But that one little thing may be holding them back.
Yeah.
I went out on a limb though. I went to him and we were connecting. We he may have brought up the story that we had met or we connected, and he had a lot to share, what he was going on, what he was trying and tricks. And I was talking to him, and I saw the kind of, I don't want to say opportunity, but the opportunity for mentorship just in passing, and it was because he seemed open. He was very, down to talk and was talking to me already. It wasn't like I just went up to him and tapped him on the shoulder. Hey dude, stop pushing Mongo if you know what's best for you. But we were having a conversation, and then I was like, I think I said, hey, do you mind coming by our hotel or whatever? We ended up hanging out later, and then I ended up kind of talking about it in depth and saying like, look, man, you have amazing potential. So it's kind of like that sandwich, right? The compliment sandwich. You have such amazing potential. If you stop pushing Mongo, you could have a career in skateboarding, like a real career.
I think also though he would have figured it out eventually.
For sure.
You know, like, but you just, it was an early,
Yeah, no.
or you still would have been pushing Mongo
no.
to this day.
Did anyone talk to you about the Mongo thing? The Mongo thing never came up before JB said something to you?
The funny thing about the Mongo thing is the Mongo thing was every now and then. I pushed both ways.
Okay.
It just depended on how comfortable I wanted to get, how quick I needed speed.
Okay.
It was a whole thing. I had a sales pitch at some point, but I've dropped that sales pitch and just been like, yeah, man, Mongo's lame.
Tell me how Mongo.
Yeah. But
The Mongo set you up to push Switch, though.
yeah,
That's the great thing about
big
Mongo.
time.
super
Big
hard. Yeah.
You can see all the dudes that were Mongo.
Oh, yeah.
Donnie Barley,
Chico Brenes,
Ricky
a
Oyola.
lot of people.
A lot of good Switch pushers out there.
Mhm. They look good pushing
Right.
Switch.
Yeah.
Not me.
I
Chris
did
Cole.
I did have a little bit of beef every time I saw people pushing Mongo Switch after that, though, because I was like, well, that's not fair. Like, I had to change. Like,
You didn't have to.
Just because it's Switch. No, I didn't have to.
Right,
but
right.
it's like, why aren't they getting pure
Switch
play?
Switch was acceptable at that
Yeah.
time. 94, 95 was very crucial.
Totally.
And
I
It
get
looks
Obviously-
different though. Like when you push Switch Mongo, it's like your shoulders are like different. If that makes any
You look
sense.
even
Sure.
dumber, Switch.
You think
Yeah,
so?
yeah.
Yeah, because you're less coordinated that way, Switch. Like, it's like
there's some
Nah, not for me.
There's some pretty dope skaters that have just made it like cool. That's
Yeah.
what I think.
Well, when you skate, if you push Mongo regular footed, your shoulders are wide open, so it looks kind of crazy. You know,
Yeah,
like,
no, I know what you're
Agree.
saying.
Totally. I
Yeah.
absolutely get that. If you had your foot sideways
Yeah.
and you were pushing Mongo, you're doing the Bartman.
You also don't see people pushing Switch Mongo and navigating the board with their heel on the tail.
True.
Oh, yeah.
And when you see
true.
that on a regular Mongo, that's like, that's tough. to
That's a
watch.
cringe, yeah.
Yeah.
You're about to break out a
got-
one-footed manual right there.
You got Josh Kalis, Mike Carroll. There's some people that have just impeccable Mongo pushes, in my opinion.
That's
Yeah.
fair. Constant had a good one, too. I remember
yeah.
him doing it.
So you took that as good advice, and you slowly tried to switch from what he was telling you at the Tampa Am.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Like, cue Rocky training montage. Me out front of my house pushing,
Tried to,
like, laps.
but
Let me get this right.
no, but that's interesting. I think it's good advice, you know? And it sucks that you were like villainized for that, like in that documentary. You know,
I don't mind it, man.
People were like,
I mean, I did mind it a little bit just because of how it was set up in the documentary. But,
okay,
in real life,
got
when
you.
people talk about it, like,
it's normal.
I'll be the the dude that says what needs to be said.
Sure.
Say need to be said. I mean, that's my opinion, but
Yeah,
I was
but
cool with it.
it's an overall opinion, though. It's the skateboarding
I just
opinion.
saw how amazing Cole's control was, how his skating, and usually you talk about these things when you're not next to the person. But
Yeah.
like I saw how amazing of a skateboarder he was, and this thing was like a major setback.
Sure.
So I was just like, this dude has the potential to be like the best skateboarder in the world. So that was where my head was at, and I was like, I don't see anyone talking about this or talking to him about this, and
Let me step in.
Yeah, let me step in because let's get this thing on its way.
For sure. And were you already considering
No,
zero?
This was like, there's a dude here that's just so amazing, and for some reason, someone's not telling him how important this is.
So it like this was right around the time before CKY came out, right? So this is like my first trip down to Tampa Am. Like after I didn't want to go to Tampa Am until I could win any contest that was local. Like hands down, like for sure I'm winning that before going to like a travel to contest. Traveled to Tampa, got my ass handed to me. It was insane. Like I was like, oh my God, everybody's good, right? But those years were like Appleyard was there, Colt Cannon was there, Jeff Onose was there,
yeah.
Susky was there. Like dudes were
What a
good,
lineup.
like they were really good. And so that was a tough one, but I had a whole bunch of feedback to go back home with. From him and from just watching people skate and how good the world was,
Pause podcast.
Okay.
I need to tell you guys that this episode is brought to us by Athletic Greens.
Ooh, we love athletic greens.
We do.
This is gold in a box, right? Love this stuff. With one delicious scoop of Athletic Greens, you're absorbing 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source superfoods, probiotics, and Kelly's favorite thing in the whole world, apple Aptogens.
I love
There it is.
aptogens.
This special blend of ingredients supports your gut health, your nervous system, your immune system, your energy, recovery, focus, and aging.
Well, not only that,
Ooh, tell me, Drone.
contains less than 1 gram of sugar, no GMOs, no nasty chemicals or artificial anything, while still tasting good.
Nothing budget, only buttery, right?
Nothing budget,
Yeah,
please.
yeah.
But it also supports better sleep quality and recovery as well.
Tons of people take multivitamins, but it's important that you choose one with high quality ingredients that your body will actually absorb.
And it's also better when not to have a full medicine cabinet full of, supplements.
Oh, man.
You know,
Wait, so I can get rid of all my supplements?
Yeah, I was just over at Kelly's house the other day, opened the cap. I was hit with supplements.
Get the trash can.
Yeah.
Throw them in there.
To make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is just visit athleticgreens.com/9club. That's NINECLUB. Again, athleticgreens.com/9club. Take ownership of your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance today, which is Athletic Greens.
Take over your health now.
And at that time, did you have your eyes on Zero either? Or were you...
We actually loved Zero. Even though everybody at that time kind of dressed hip hop, we loved Zero. And so, like the first Zero commercial came out, and it was like a clothing company, and we liked the name. But then once the first Zero video came out, we would always watch it and get all pumped. I didn't have any money, but my friend Ryan Beck worked at the skate shop, and he bought me a Zero, what's it called? American Zero shirt. When the first shipment of shirts came in, he bought me a gray American Zero shirt, and I used to wear it all the time.
Rad. So you had no inclination of wanting to get on Zero at that point in time?
No.
I feel like it was such a gradual process, you
Yeah?
know. Like, so now that he said Apple Yard, I went back and told Mirko, like, hey, try and see if you can get these dudes as the AM team, and he got all 3 of them.
You got them all.
Which was awesome, and we were able to travel together. But Cole, during like the early years on Circa, we would travel together, and I was sober. Cole was just the epitome of a skate nerd. He was just consuming skateboarding on all levels, and I liked to room with him because I could hear his mind and all the things that were important to him and all the things that mattered, and just hear how he saw skateboarding. I thought it was fascinating.
Okay.
So we started rooming together on the circuit trips. And then while we were rooming together, he was on Enjoy, but on the East Coast. And it seemed to me that there wasn't really a place for him to really do his thing. And so it was kind of like I was listening to him tell me how he didn't feel like he was a part of that. Meanwhile, I have a front row seat to watching his skateboarding just continuing to evolve and, just like blow my mind on a consistent basis because we're traveling together. And then that circuit tour, we went to Europe. And that circuit tour, the video radio tour, where everyone attacks Muska in Germany.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that tour was crazy. But, at that point, we had done like 10 or 15 demos together over a 2 to 3 week period. So I was able to see his skating on every type of obstacle. And at that point, at the very end of it, hearing where he was at, I was just like, man, this is kind of far away. He's, on the East Coast. He's not really a part of our crew. And most people that are on Zero are like they become a part of our crew before they get on.
Sure.
So it was definitely going out on a limb, but I was like, this guy's going to be Skate of the Year someday. And he is so cool, and I love hanging out with him and skating with him. So for me,
He's
it was
blushing over here.
Yeah. So for me, it was like going back to the team and going like, hey guys, I have a dude that doesn't like fit the bill of all the guys that have come before, but this guy's got it all. And everyone, was like, okay, if you say so. It was kind of like where I did the executive vote. I usually take everyone's vote on the team.
Well, wasn't it not a unanimous decision?
I didn't really ask. I just kind of let everyone know.
Okay.
I let everyone know, like, hey, I got a silver bullet, and I'm about to use it, and it's Chris Cole.
Okay.
So for me, I went back, and some people couldn't see it. They couldn't see where it would evolve and how it would evolve and how it would become and feel good, feel right. But, I think... I don't know.
I mean,
the rest is history.
I think it was.
That's it.
It's pretty funny. The world kind of got to see it in the In Bloom part. I feel like, because I felt like that's where there was some Enjoy footage, and then you see it get into Zero. And you see it transition there.
Totally.
Yeah.
And it was funny because during that time, like, people will say, like, baggy me, right? Like the old school. During that time, I was still listening to, like, heavy stuff, right? So I was still listening to Iron Maiden and Misfits and stuff like that all the time. But it was just kind of like you dress in what you got in a way, and then
whatever sponsors are sending stuff
exactly,
to you, right?
And then there was a switch over right in like this zone in Bloom where I got to like kind of pick what I want to wear that represents how I felt on the inside.
Yeah.
And then so I'd go through and I'd try to find like the tougher stuff out of my sponsors.
Well, how old were you at this point?
I don't know. No idea.
19. Let's do the math.
Yeah.
It would have been 2000, right? 2001.
Yeah, 2001.
2000?
Yeah, 2001.
Yeah.
You got on Zero in early 2002, so this would have been 2001. But a lot of this gear that he's wearing is my Circa gear, which was baggier still. So
that's true.
Yeah, so I started making.
You like that shirt?
Yeah, I made jeans and apparel, and it was basically like he's wearing all the Circa gear, and then my gear and Circa's gear just got tighter and tighter.
Well, I think it's funny too how the outside perceives it as well, right? Because the outside looking in, because there's that old story about like you sending, like giving him gear to wear and like dressing him.
Yeah.
But in reality, like you had just sent him a shirt or something, right?
That
like,
is it. I sent him a Ozzy Osbourne shirt that.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you're dressing Chris Cole. Like,
when that happened? That happened when we were filming For Dying to Live, and we were in Atlanta. And he went to a thrift store. I was still sleeping downstairs at Joel's house, and he came in. He's like, "Hey, I went to this vintage store. This thing's too big for me."
Oh yeah.
And he gave me the shirt, and then that's what spawned the whole thing.
It's so funny, man.
Yeah, it is. I actually also remember when the gears started turning about him putting me on Zero. From my perspective, at least, it happened. We were in Palm Desert, and we were shooting photos for a Circa catalog, and I was skating a curb, doing stall tricks on a curb. It was hot as shit out. Like, it was so hot. I was skating a curb, just kind of talking to Jamie. Jamie was lacing up a pair of shoes sitting on the curb. And he asked me what Enjoy was doing, like when I was going to turn pro. And I was like, I actually asked, and it like took them by surprise. They kind of didn't have an answer for me at all. Like, we're kind of like, we hadn't even thought about it. I don't know.
Okay.
And he was like, really? They didn't even think about it? That's crazy.
And that's what made you think that that's crazy.
And I was like, I guess that is crazy.
But here's the thing. Did you not feel like a part of Enjoy? That was kind of, we were talking about that a little bit earlier. Because like, I almost feel like you're on the East Coast still.
Right.
Zero's on the West Coast. Now you're...
The only time I was ever like, I ever felt like I was a part of Enjoy was when I would hang out with Mark Johnson, which happened like twice in Huntington Beach, and we went to the movie theater and saw Mothman Prophecies, and we stayed at the Balkan Park. And then
I really feel a part of this.
And then we would send each other text messages like joking about Mothman Prophecies for like the next month. Other than that, it was like they were over there. I was a super big fan, and so I was riding the product because I thought that they were funny, and I was a fan, but I was never like part of the tilt mode or anything.
Yeah. And that was a big thing back then, the tilt mode stuff.
It was great.
It was huge.
Those videos were fantastic.
Huge. So I love the fact that you just had that silver bullet and like went with it, because it's important for a team to be cohesive and have a say in like what's going on with the team.
Yeah.
I
mean, around this, shortly after he got on in 2002, we filmed Dying to Live, shotgun style, in 6 months. We'd been working on it for a year, and he came on and was, obviously like skating really good, but we went on trip after trip, and he got a part done in 6 months, and that was his Dying to Live part.
Wow.
Yeah. Maybe 8 months, but we went back to Barcelona a few times, that really helped things along. He was able to get, a lot of his part done, and
that was the first time I had ever been there.
That's amazing.
To Barcelona.
Yeah.
Were you just on fire at this point? Were you just everything was firing,
I will
everything was
answer for
working?
him. Yes, he was on fire. It was like nothing I'd ever seen. I could make suggestions anywhere, any trick, and if that exact trick wasn't doable in a few tries, something similar was doable that might have even been better. It was like playing a video game. I'm filming a video part, and I had never experienced anything like it. I'd been filming for quite 10 years, making videos by this time. And,
Sure.
And I was like, this is the craziest thing.
I mean, 6 to 8 months to do a video part is not the easiest.
I mean, on
thing.
this level, also.
And rifling out like legit stuff.
I mean,
not
for a
easy.
zero video, that's
Barcelona
heavy.
was like eight tricks a day. It was.
I mean, mind you, the landscape in Barcelona, I mean, you have like the stage is beautiful out there. So it's like, you should be able to produce. But had you been there before? Was that your first time going?
That was my first time going.
Oh, so,
the time that like all of this Barcelona footage like went down was the first time that I was there. Like,
So you were just pumped.
Like most of it, except for this big brown trick right here. That rail's right by my house, and Jamie used to come out and stay out in my zone in like suburban Philadelphia, and we would film, and it would just be like Jamie and me kind of going to
Jamie's filming you.
Yeah.
And you're filming Jamie?
And then
I just went there as a filmer.
Just went there as a
Seriously?
filmer.
Yeah.
And like he would bring this little boom box like radio, and he had during the session where we were skating the Big Brown rail, which we titled Big Brown. He brought this little boom box, and the radio station played Renegade by Styx. And that's the first time I heard that song. And we were like, damn, this song's pretty sick. And
That's how it happened.
I was in a big rock opera phase around that time period.
Yeah.
And I remember like it all just. The trip was really good though. I took my first trip to go stay with him and his friends and skate around, go to their skate shop, and most of this is all in one trip. And he did the same thing where I was there for like 5 or 6 days and did 10 to 12 of his childhood tricks that he really wanted to do. He knew exactly what he wanted to do, and we went there and he did it. I was the only filmer, so if there's 2 angles of anything, he was doing it twice.
Wow. Really?
Yeah.
That's fucked up.
Wow.
And the only reason why like I'll accept you making me do it again.
Thank you.
Is because you also do it to yourself and refilm everything a million times. So like if I have to do it twice, I'm just like, this is an injustice. Except for I know you're gonna do it.
He wants the best for you, bro.
What was that conversation like? Like if you did a trick, were you pretty straight? Like, hey, you should do that again.
No, I'm talking about saying like, hey, could I get one long lens?
Oh yeah.
But a lot of times,
totally.
people aren't into doing the same trick over. So you lip slide the rail, fisheye. I'm like, hey, do you have anything else in this rail? I'd love to get a long lens angle to back it up.
Yeah.
And he'd say, yeah, I think I can Smith grind it. I'm like, dope. We got a lip slide, fisheye, Smith grind, long lens.
Which is sick.
And then we would work our way through all the spots like that. And then some spots, if you didn't have 2 tricks, I'd be like, hey, do you think you got another one? That's usually my line. Hey, do you think you got another one? Not like, you got to do this again. do you know who I am?
Totally.
And if someone says, no, that was really stressful, I don't think I got another one, I'm like, no problem.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to respect.
And then I say, do you got anything else?
He says, no problem, absolutely. We'll pack up and leave. And the camera stays out. And he just like waits. Like he does like a slow 10 count.
When you heard that song on the radio, when you were that's when you knew that you were going to use it?
I don't think we knew it. I just think we thought it was cool. And then later I brought it up and it had some nostalgia to our trip. So then it was like, yeah that would be sick.
Got you. Because you've made iconic videos. We talked about it, I think, first time you were here, or maybe even on a Zoom episode or whatever. But you have this vision in your head with the song before you even start, or while you're filming. You already have a song.
That's best case scenario.
Picked out, right?
Yeah.
Right.
But sometimes, I don't know if you guys have ever imagined this, and I might have talked about this on a previous episode. I apologize if it's repeat. But for me, I always imagined it like, if this person that's in this part were to be the lead singer of a band, what would that band look like and what would it sound like? And that if you can find music that looks like that and feels like that, then it's basically like if they were a musician, that's the music they would make. Yeah. So, in New Blood, I have long hair with a bandana on and like a bunch of military clothes and flannels, and I skate to Creedence. It's basically, that's where I was living in that. I was in like 1969 to 70. I was in the Vietnam War.
right.
During that period. That was my Vietnam War era. And I used Fortunate Son by Creedence because if I was in a band right then, that's what I'd be singing.
That's what you'd be.
Yeah.
That's an interesting...
So if you think about Alyssa Steamer skating to Janis Joplin, I didn't make that part, but it's the same concept, same philosophy. And then the Sundays as well in the, Welcome to Hell. She skates to the Sundays. Yeah. So it's kind of, I feel like people may be doing that subconsciously.
Did you say New Blood? Is that what the...
New Blood was the Creedence part, yeah.
Yeah. Can I ask you something about New Blood? What was up with the wall ride, you break the window? Because like the second trick in, you land it.
I'll lay it on him.
So it's a great intro, by the way. But then coming up, there's another daytime shot of it. Did you go back to try to do it? What was the thing there?
I did it in the daytime.
Okay.
Didn't get a photo. And then went back to get the photo. And this was my 10 years of Tomas interview for Thrasher. And we needed a cover. And we were like, maybe if this photo turns out great, maybe it could be a cover. And so I went back to do it at night. And I was like, I want to go higher. If it's going to be a cover, I want to be at the top of this thing. I want my front wheels touching the roof. And so the reason it broke is I pumped really hard, like to try and get higher up the glass. And I pumped through it. And immediately alarm went off. We grabbed all our gear. We grabbed all the generators, all the lights, and we were running to the van with the lights and generator on. Like the lights are on. The lights are on in the parking lot, flickering. Yeah.
No way.
Then we just unplugged everything, threw it all in the van as it is, and drove off because we knew it was a bank. It was only going to be less than 5 minutes.
It was
the cops were coming when we drove out. The cops were.
Yeah. So then
you were there.
I was there.
Yeah. Then we left. And I was like, I got to go back and see what happened. So we left, went to a gas station, and we broke off. I drove back by, and it was like full, like
wow,
cops every angle. And then I went back the next week, and I was like, man, we're gonna be wanted if I use that footage. So then I felt bad. At this time, I had a conscience, and I was like, man, I just shattered their window.
At this time.
I mean, as a young kid, I didn't have room to have a conscience. I was just trying to survive.
That's fair.
Straight up. But at this point, I was no longer in survival mode. I was trying to make a video part. And then I went back and I was like, we got to use the footage. I got to use the footage. Totally. So I went and wrote an anonymous letter to the bank manager. And then I had a window guy come out and say, I want to get at zero. I was like, I want to get this window replaced. How much would it be? And it was about the same size as that window.
Okay.
And the guy's like, $500. I'm like, all right, thank you. I appreciate it. I'll let you know. We're going to replace it. And then I just wrote an anonymous letter to the bank manager, put 5 $100 bills, and went and filmed myself putting it into the mailbox with the address on it. And then I was like, I'm using the footage.
No way.
That's pretty amazing. Bro.
And I was like, if they come at us or whatever, but I felt better about it,
Totally.
And then also I was like, I'm going for it. We're going. We're using it.
Wow.
But, I mean, obviously you never heard anything.
We never heard anything,
right?
Because the bank manager kept the money. Never
knew who you were.
I'm sure he did, right?
You just paid the bank manager off right there.
Blamed it on a tweaker.
You didn't say your name or anything?
No, I just said, I am really sorry. I was skateboarding and broke your window. Here's $500. I hope this covers the damages.
Simple as that.
Wow.
So that way I figured if anyone ever said, hey, did you ever see this video where the guy broke your window? They would be like, oh, yeah, we got that.
He paid for it.
Yeah.
He paid for it. Right.
Covered itself.
Oh. Yeah, I'd always wondered that because it's like sometimes you see, I mean, we saw in the daytime, then at nighttime. So did you get the photo?
The photo's the cover of Thrasher, man. Where you been?
Oh, yeah, Thrasher. Sorry.
Got that.
What year was this?
2004.
2004. Yeah.
It's all right. I'm
not supposed to know every cover.
No, you could have missed it. You could have missed it. But yeah, it was like a pull-out poster, and it was the 10 Years of Tomas cover.
10 Years of Tomas. Man, that's it.
Trying to make it to this 30 Years of Tomas next year.
I think you're well on your way.
I'm almost there.
Yeah. Crazy. It's good. Oh, we got it right here. Here's the cover. Boom.
There it is.
That's before window break.
That's 1 or 2 tries before.
Oh, you got it.
Yeah, that was where I wanted to be.
Who shot it?
Shigeo.
Dope.
That's crazy. Like, this is evidence.
Shout out Shigeo, you're the best.
Yeah, he is the best. That's just like evidence on a cover of a magazine.
Yeah.
That
That's
also
pretty
was
wild.
heavily inspired by Cardiel. He had a Spitfire ad way back in the day, and it said, the only office politics John Cardiel will ever know. And it had him wall riding a glass, like a tranny to wall or a tranny to glass in Northern California.
Okay.
Tobin photo.
Tobin Yellen.
Yeah, I was a kid when I saw it, and I was like, oh my gosh, John Cardiel's the best. Anyway, that was like a homage or just like inspired by John Cardiel.
I love it. I love the fact that you paid. You sent an anonymous letter.
Yeah, that's
and everything.
amazing.
Like, that's incredible, man.
And Cole's in the inside.
Like on a. Oh wait, where?
It says Wallenburg murdered.
Oh god.
Yeah, I just saw that.
Was that when you 360 flipped it?
There it is.
There it is.
Look at that.
No, that was
Dude,
a
that should have been a
contest.
cover
Oh,
right there.
rad.
Smooth as glass.
The only office politics John Cardiel will ever know.
That's not a same spot, is it?
No,
No.
that's
I
in
mean,
Northern
it looks
California.
the same.
I think that one's got tranny to it.
Okay.
That's
yeah,
a
I mean,
great
it
shot,
has
too.
to, right?
Dude, he is.
His
that's-
reflection on there, so
Yeah.
sick.
I bought a poster of this
That was
from
a really
Tobin
nice
last
photo.
year.
Rad.
You did. That's
Mhm.
smart.
Yeah. Waldenburg. That was the same one.
He said it so good.
Waldenburg.
Walden.
You got some unnecessary letters in there, dog.
He comes through with some wild stuff every now and then.
Who?
You.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
True.
But I genuinely want, like, is that something you can't just get out of your brain?
You got to be able to say Wallenburg.
Wallenburg for sure.
Yeah,
but
now
once
it's a joke.
I've been saying it for so long, Waldenburg, that I
like it, man. I like it. Stick with it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you.
I like that.
You're infuriating people at home, but that's okay.
Oh yeah, I get comments all the time.
Okay, dope.
Yeah,
Dude needs to know what's really good.
dude, you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I purposely don't like making fun of some of that stuff because if I say it as a joke, then I might say it for real. Like take it for granted.
Yes.
Oh.
granite.
You know, things
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that. Like I don't do that because I'll say it for real one time and be like, oh no, I'm dumb. You know?
It looks like the Spanish Mike thing. You hear P-Rod and him going back and
that's
forth?
so good.
The hand-me-downs.
The hand-me-down.
Hand-me-downs.
That was a good post.
Yeah.
P-Rod like almost like
He almost passed out.
yeah, he almost
laughing.
passed out. Yeah.
Oh,
He couldn't
That's a
breathe.
good laugh.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I just had this thought really quickly because you
Wait.
had mentioned, that person, that skater's an album cover and what they should skate to in the video. Chomp On This, totally not the song.
I was what I was trying to sing in that time.
Come on.
Trying to rap like Master P.
But what an iconic video part, Chomp On This, and it worked.
That was Trainwreck's song, actually. Trainwreck used to listen to that song on tour all the time, and it was like this anthem that I don't know if you guys ever did I tell this story where we would have music on in the front of the car, and then Trainwreck would not like the music, and then the next stop he would buy a boombox and then put his own music on in the back.
No.
And we'd have two sections of music
In the van.
In the van, yeah. And then we'd have to be like,
That is maddening.
I'd have to turn ours down to listen to the boombox in the back.
So he's got Master P on in the back, and you've got Credence on in the front. Is that what's going on?
That's what's going on.
Oh my god.
It was tough. He was a handful during that time period, but super fun.
So Chomp On This, that was your pick?
That was my pick because I fell in love with the song because of just how funny it was.
That
and how
actually
cool it
blows
was.
my mind. I would never think that you would
But
have
it was
chosen
because
that song.
Trainwreck brainwashed me.
Yeah,
basically.
embedded that shit into your
He
head.
embedded it in my head, and it became this like fun tour song
Yeah.
in my head. And then when I heard Henry was going to skate to Guns N' Roses, and Ty was like, "We're trying to mix it up. We're doing like the Thrill of It All intro section. Like, he's like, I'd love for you to skate to something that you normally wouldn't." And so I was like, all right. And I went and thought about some stuff. And anyway, that song came up, and he was like, I love it. We're going with it.
It worked.
Yeah, it was great.
So
Unfortunately, Trainwreck and I weren't like on the best of terms at the time. So I used the song, and then I remembered him getting like a little.
He
bummed.
got bummed.
Yeah, he's like, man, that's my song.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but fair enough. I didn't like hit him up and be like, yo, man, it's cool if I use that Master P song.
I know you were playing that in the tour the whole time.
I mean, I could see where he's coming from.
It'd be funny if you
what-
denied it though. You're just like, what? That was
Ty
my
picked
song.
it. Ty picked
That was
it.
my song. I played it in the van.
But it's iconic. I would have never guessed it. I thought for sure that was a Ty pick.
Oh really? I
Yeah.
knew it was him.
Well, you're on tour together. I'm not in the
But
band.
I wasn't on Zero during
Yeah,
Trainwreck
this is
era.
a year. This is a year before Cole
Okay.
went on.
So I knew it was him for sure.
Most of
That's
this
so
is
funny.
leftovers from Dying to Live.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
we hadn't put Dying to Live out yet, but I already knew things that weren't going to make the cut. And then we went out and started goofing off, which was fun. But a lot of it is like stuff where I had what I thought were better versions of it. but it's also random, and that's why I think it's good. Well, most of my parts were really planned out. I'd been dreaming about them and choreographing them and curating them, and this is not all that. And Ty edited, this. We stayed up one night and edited it, and he asked for my input, but he was behind the wheels.
Ty's a guy that you just trust.
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
Yeah. For sure. And I think that helped make it, more of, not like my typical. That was lead dog. Not my typical part.
For sure. But I think that's what made it so fantastic.
I agree.
That's the power of collaboration.
100%.
So cool. Yeah. And this is all his ideas, like Freddie popping out.
What about the throwback to the one more try? 5-0 down the rail, and you did it in here.
That was a kickflip foot plant.
Yeah, this one was a kickflip foot plant. But But it was.
Like, was that just on a session, or was that like, oh, hey, we should do that one more try thing for this? Or?
I don't think I was acting in this. I think I was really saying one more.
Okay. This worked out.
But then after that, everyone since has been a parody, either done by me or mentioned by someone else.
I mean, it's iconic.
That is
it's
definitely
cool, man.
iconic.
It's cool with me. I don't care. You can make fun of me all you want.
How can you think that's amazing? That's like one of the people talk about that.
Yeah. I think it's incredible because
just random skate park clip thrown in there.
The one more try is I don't know. It's just like it's something we could all relate to. We can feel like we didn't land the trick well, so we want to do it again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I definitely feel like that.
Very
for sure.
relatable.
I think
on occasion.
I think that one got attention because the first one looked good enough for the average person, but I was on such a relentless pursuit of excellence at that time that I wasn't taking. I really envisioned that trick and a lot of other tricks. I'm sure a lot of people do this. You envision it looking and feeling a certain way, and if you get something less than that, and you got a lot on the line, and you're willing to put it all on the line again, then keep going.
What video was this in again? The 5-0. Can we pull up the Misled Youth? I want to know because I watched this recently, and I watched the land that you didn't like, and then the one you did, and 100% it's way better. The second one.
I like the first one better, just because it has like a raw energy to it. It's like it kind of tips on the heel and kind of shows a bit of rawness. But I feel like I was always in pursuit of perfection, and I don't think perfection is always better. I just wanted it to feel a certain way. I didn't go back and watch the footage, obviously. I just turned left and
it's the landing right here. You kind of squirrel out a little bit.
It tips almost like it's gonna. That's Daxter Lucier in the background on the car. He came there to grind it that day. So crazy.
No. Yeah. Oh, you guys both showed up?
No, I was already skating it when he showed up.
And he said, oh my God, Jamie Thomas is 5-0 in this. I wanted to 50-50 it.
I don't know I didn't know I wanted to 5-0 it. I just knew I wanted to 50 it. So I went there to 50 it. I actually, this is random and I'm not trying to get all about myself in this, but a few tries before this, I'm 50-50 in it, trying to build up the nerve. And I hit my axle one time on the way up and you can hear it ding. And then I actually get into a grind and make the trick, and it was the scariest thing ever.
Oh my goodness!
That rail's not small by any means. It's not like I know now you get desensitized because of the things that we see, Nyjah full cap back lip and stuff. But like, if you go to this rail, present day, you're like, that's humongous,
right?
Yeah,
I mean, for rail skaters like Dane and Kanan, a couple of those dudes, they just go there and jump on it. It's like not even a thing for them. It's small for them. So I don't know. I mean, it's kind of scary though because you're up really high on like overlooking the bay. And whenever I skate rails like that, the horizon makes it feel like you're on top of the world, and it makes it a scarier feeling.
Yeah, the Tri-City rail does that too. Tri-City, which you front boarded.
It's terrible like that. It's the worst rail, that Tri-City green rail.
Because you're going kind of uphill at this green rail that he had a front board on, right? You're going uphill at it, right? So you barely see any rail. And then there's parking lot, and then there's like a 30-foot drop to the next parking lot. So you're just looking, you see that parking lot, and you're on the top of a mountain.
Wow.
You're about to front board a mountain.
It's terrifying doing it.
I know. I hate when I can't see the end of a manual pad. It just it's crazy. Bugs me out.
different shit here, bro.
Get anxiety.
What? Dubs, I still can't see the end of it.
First world problem, still a problem.
I got a question for you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Do you have questions that you want to ask us, or are you just winging it?
I have a few things written down here.
Okay.
Yes. I would love to get into the Fallen stuff if we could, because that was something that you started. And then you eventually, I don't know if you sold the trademark or what happened with that. I'm not quite sure about the story, but it's now, again, Fallen is risen.
Revamped.
Yeah.
And then Cole, you skate for them.
I do.
And how do you feel about that now?
How do I feel about Cole skating for it?
No, I mean like just the.
All right, well let me tell you the story.
Please.
Yeah, I'll try and keep it and fast forward.
Okay.
And there's a interesting element to earlier you saying that did I get a unanimous decision on Cole joining the team? So when Cole got on Zero, some of the guys were like, I don't really see this a fit. John Alley was one of them. Said I don't really see this as a fit, but he's like, man, it's your company. I'll support it, Anyway, so we start Fallen next year. So that's 2002 when Cole gets on Zero. Mm-hmm. And I start Fallen in 2003. Ali was the first team rider. He was on Flow for Circa, and I was leaving Circa, and my shoe was the only shoe he rode. My shoe was going with me, and we're going to start something where I was going to start a new brand. And
you were actually taking your shoe from Circa and going to redo it on Fallen?
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
And also I was going to be there for John. John is very particular about what he skated. He wanted like a certain density of rubber. The toe height had to be a certain height. And he's an AM at this point. Like he was just so particular about everything. So he knew that I would be willing to work with him on his particulars. So he came to Fallen with me. He was the first team rider, then Billy Marks and Josh Harmony. Oh. And then I'm now going on tour with Cole regularly because we're on Zero together, and Cole is complaining or just sharing with me his frustrations at Circa. Mm-hmm. He's pro now. They're working on a pro shoe. They tell him that his pro shoe is going to be a team model, something that he's been working on designing. I'm sorry if I'm taking the story from you. Is that pretty accurate?
Yeah.
Wait, they were going to give you a team shoe? What did you just say?
He had designed a shoe.
I designed a shoe.
That seemed like it was going to be his pro model shoe, but then it was ending up that
they made it a team shoe.
They were going to make it a team shoe.
Gotcha.
So before that came out, he was telling me those frustrations, and I said, why don't we take elements of that shoe? Why don't you come ride for Fallen? We'll make a shoe for you that's exactly what you want. And we'd already had a year and a half of working together at Zero. And we already had a rapport that was really working. Mm-hmm. So he said yes, and ironically, Ali was like, hey man, you put Cole on Zero. I didn't really have much to say about it. Now you're putting him on Fallen 2. This feels weird because this was like, I didn't really see this as a good fit. I don't really have something personally against Cole, but I don't want to be on two brands with the dude. And I was like, okay. And he's like, you know what? I just got a call from Circa the other day. What do you think about me entertaining going to ride for Circa? And I was like, okay, let me think about that. Anyway, Cole was in a contract at Circa. Ali was in a contract at Fallen. And Raul Reese, the owner of Circa, the dude who, I communicated with when I rode for Circa, hit me up and was like, hey, what do you think about doing a trade?
Wow.
And the first time I heard this actually happen in skateboarding.
I know. There's straight up a trade. Okay.
Yeah, and he's like, Cole has another year on his contract. Ali has another year on his contract. How about we just rip up the contracts and we'll take Ali and you take Cole? And I said,
did you know about this?
I completely forgot about this, if I ever did know about it.
Wow.
And I'm hearing it. I'm with you guys. I'm like, what happens next?
Very impressive.
I went to Ali and said, Ali, I've talked to those dudes. They would love to have you if that's something you want to do. And they're willing to let Cole out of his contract. I'm down to let you out of your contract. And he's like, I would love that, and I'd be stoked if that was cool with you. I love Zero. I don't ever want anything to happen at Zero. I want to ride for Zero forever.
Okay.
And if you're cool with this, I'd be hyped to go to Circa. And so I hit Cole up and was like, Cole, these dudes are down. They're down to let you out of your contract, and Ali's going to go to Circa, and you'll ride for Fallen. And Billy and Josh are the coolest, easiest going dudes ever, and they were just like, yeah, heck yeah, Chris Cole. Heck yeah, let's do it. And they're like, bummed John's got to go, but
yeah.
If John's not feeling it, then.
Did you know about that? About John not wanting to be on 2-2?
Yeah, I did.
Oh, did you talk to him about it? I mean,
I remember it was our conversation.
I'm sure.
No, I did. I called him about it.
Oh, you did?
And I said, hey, this is a tough conversation. And
but I mean, I think that's not I don't think that's the weirdest thing to happen. I think it's an odd thing that we hear about.
Now.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We hear about it, but that happens all the time. Just
Right.
usually everybody just like zips their lip.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just people feel threatened. I don't
Yeah.
know. Sometimes it's more competition.
That's definitely a part of it to a
It's,
degree.
You know,
I
Yeah.
would,
certain elements.
I would agree that was maybe a part of it. John was the
For
first
sure.
team rider on Fallen, and he had my undivided attention, and he knew I had not a soft spot for Cole, but he knew I'd gone out on a limb already for Cole, and maybe he thought that Cole would go above him in the tier. But what it really did is it eased the relationship with John, because John was very particular. I was already trying to work with him on concaves and shape tweaks and graphic tweaks, and I also was working with him at Fallen, and it was too much pressure for me, for being one person, to manage both of his needs.
Gotcha.
And so it basically freed me from one, and then it made our relationship at Zero better. And he saw that. He saw that was going to happen.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And his career was taking off. He'd just done that flip to slide, flip to grind part, and Circa
Kickflip gun.
Circa pretty much like offered him a pro shoe as a rookie. And I was pretty much doing the same thing for Cole, but I had front row seats to what was next for Cole.
Gotcha.
I knew what we were working on. I knew what we just did for Dying to Live and how fast we did it. I was there filming in Barcelona with Lee Dog and saw it all. And I was like, I know where this is going. And I believe absolutely that we could do a pro shoe with him in the second year of Fallen. So that was 2004 is when he got on Fallen, and the shoe came out shortly after. We went into production right away because we had his Circa sample as a starting point. So the jump off for the Trooper was, let's build on the Circa shoe, and they can come out with a team shoe all they want,
Which they did, right?
We'll make it different. Yeah, they did.
Okay.
And he even had a colorway.
Ramondetta used to wear it all the time.
Okay. Huh.
Crazy.
Yeah.
But that always helps you. Like if you have something to work with, and Cole already had a design that he'd fed them, and then or that he'd pitched them, and then I could take that as a starting point, and then I could work with him, and that was where the Trooper came from.
I mean, it happens all the time. Rick Howard took his shoe to DC when he went to DC.
Totally.
Let's not just brush over the first trade, because that's pretty impressive. I'd never heard of anything like that. We're talking about contracts and like, let's just figure this out.
But it's almost like both skaters wanted it.
It's really rare that both skaters and both company owners want it.
Yeah. I mean,
totally.
really, never heard of that before.
But for you guys as owners to have that conversation in the first place,
I think it worked out because I'd only quit Circa a year before, and it was amicable.
oh, it was okay.
Because they were financially strapped. They couldn't afford to pay me. They hadn't been paying me. And I said, hey, I want to do my own company, and they were like, I'm not going to ride for a competitor. I'm going to do what they did. Whenever someone leaves your company to go do what you've done, you got to respect that. So, and I gave them 6 months to sell off my shoes, and I started planning Fallen, in private meetings while I still rode for Circa.
Right.
So I don't know if this is maybe it's been done. I don't know. I'm not trying to act like I invented the wheel over here. But the day my contract ended with Circa, Fallen launched the next day.
The next day.
Very strategic.
Some would say that was planned.
I love this.
Yeah. And at DC, Ken and Damon believed so much in what we were doing or what I was doing or what I was bringing and what we were planning to launch that they just bought blind inventory and brought it in, and no one knew of the brand until the day, and you could buy it today.
Because they started helping you manufacture and distribute?
So I went to Ken and Damon. So here's the story. I was going to ride for Circa. I was leaving audio because K2 owned it, and I felt it was corny because K2 was a rollerblade and ski brand, and it just felt every trip I'd gone on and the things that I'd dealt with. Chris Miller was amazing. Jeff Taylor was team manager. All the riders were amazing, but I couldn't get past the fact that I rode for K2. And anyway, I was leaving audio. Circa made me an amazing offer. Around that time, Kelly Bird talked about this. I got an offer from Lakai.
Yes. That's right.
But they were going to make me an owner at Circa, and they were paying me whatever Muska was getting. I think I talked about this in a previous episode.
Okay.
They asked me what I wanted, and I just said, whatever you're giving Chad. And they said yes. They said yes. So before I signed that contract, though, I had the utmost respect for Ken and Damon. And so I called Ken and Damon. I knew this was the peak of my career. I called Ken and Damon and said, look, I'm about to sign a contract with Raw Reese at Circa. I've heard mixed reviews on Raw. I don't have any personal experience. And would you guys have any interest in starting a shoe company, a second shoe company to DC? And right at that point, they were in a lawsuit with the previous partner, Clay, to divide the shares and to change the ownership. And they said, we're not in the position to do it now. If this opportunity comes along in the future, please feel free to hit us up. So when things started going south at Circa financially, I reached back out to Ken and Damon. It had been 3 years. I reached back out and said, hey, we talked 3 years ago. I did the Circa thing. It was amazing. It was awesome. I got to travel, do all these things. They're going through financial struggles because they had a snowboard brand. They gave terms on like a whole season of snowboards, and it was the worst season of snow in decades. And they were hung out to dry on all their money. So they were strapped for cash because of the snowboard business. And so we weren't getting paid at Circa, and Chad and I we had the highest salaries, and we were the ones that were feeling it the most. So at any rate, I went back to Ken and Damon and said, hey, would you guys have any interest on starting a new brand? Things are going south at Circa, and I would like to find a home and do something new. I have a vision for what I want to do. Anyway, they said yes, and now's a great time. Come meet with us. And we met, and we launched Fallen in the beginning through DC.
You launched it through DC, but only a year later they sold DC.
They sold in 9 months.
In 9 months, and they didn't want Fallen to go with them.
They did want Fallen. So
they did.
Quicksilver bought it. But I had a clause in my contract that said if more than 51% of the company sold, I could take Fallen on my own.
Ooh, you wrote that into that's smart.
I didn't write it, but they knew they may be in a position to sell, and that may be the best way to get where they wanted to go. And so they talked about it, and they were transparent. Hey, we may sell the company someday. And I was like, well, I don't want to automatically just be owned by whoever you sell to. So how can we put something in the contract that, doesn't get me stuck in some long-term deal with somebody I didn't sign up for?
With K2 again.
Quicksilver this time. Anyway, so Quicksilver bought it, and I was like, I don't want to sell to Quicksilver. I'm super hyped on running my own brand, and I just left K2 a couple years ago. Yeah. I didn't want to be involved in the corporate thing, and I wanted to do my own thing.
So you brought it to...
I brought it to zero.
Yeah, right.
And then we created what we were doing there.
Yeah. For a long time.
Yeah, so I don't know if you want to fast forward that.
Well, yeah, I want to fast forward because I think nowadays with Chris being on Fallen now, and then you I don't know if you have anything to do with Fallen. I don't know if you sold the trade, but I don't know what happened there.
I'll give you a quick explanation.
Yeah, it'd be great.
So 2009-10, the financial bubble burst.
Ooh.
And it was rough everywhere. The footwear landscape was changing radically around that time. 11 and 12 were really tough. Nike, Adidas, Vans, Converse were taking over the wall. Skate shops.
What year did the PacSun thing implode also? Was that a part of it?
We weren't in PacSun.
No, okay.
It didn't affect us.
Gotcha.
No, that was 2008.
That was 2008? Okay.
But it was just getting worse and worse. The skate footwear landscape was getting really, really difficult for core endemic skate brands. Mm-hmm. And, rightfully so, those other guys had amazing marketing. They had, all the money, and they had the resources, and they made great shoes. So, I wasn't in the position to see all that at the time. I just felt like we were being attacked, which, is kind of the defensive play. That was where my mindset was. Mm-hmm. At any rate, I was trying to do everything I could at that time to keep the brand going. But we had a pretty big operation at that point. I had bit off more than I could chew on a bad day. And so we had a lot of overhead that I really couldn't reverse from that fast. And so it got to be a point where we were, I also, I will admit this, I built and remodeled a big house at this time period.
Okay.
So I took the first money I'd ever taken out of the company at this time. So some cash that I had taken out of the company, we then needed because we were going into financial crisis.
Oh.
And so I borrowed money. I borrowed $1 million from the factory. Pretty big.
From the factory?
From the factory.
Okay.
Yeah, this isn't unheard of. This happens a lot.
For sure.
So if the company falls on hard times and they need financial support, the factory will give them $1 million in terms, which doesn't cost them $1 million, so they get a pretty good deal on it. Maybe it costs them $750,000, but they got $1 million loan on paper.
Okay.
So they gave us $1 million in terms, and that's several seasons of footwear that we could make without money going out. And then there was a clause that they could turn that loan into equity if they wanted. And so if the company recovered and started doing really well, they could turn their $1 million plus interest into equity and own a portion of the entities that were offered and that were signed up as collateral. So at the time, Zero, Mystery, Fallen,
everything,
and Black Box was all signed for collateral on that $1 million loan.
So they would have been owners of everything.
If they would have been a percentage owner. They would have had a percentage ownership of all brands if they wanted to activate that. So we went down the road 1 year, 2 year, 3 years. It wasn't getting better. It was getting worse. So interest is accumulating, and the brands are selling less and less. And it gets to a point where we're at a crossroads, and some of the riders start leaving. Cole goes to DC. Some things start shaking up, and we still have a really big overhead. So the industry is getting shook even more. Fallen sales are going down. I'm laying off my friends. Myself and the management crew were laying people off at Black Box. It was a really tough time.
Rough.
A lot of that had to do with the fact that I committed to this massive overhead. So this is my opportunity to take it in the teeth here. I made some irreversible changes that I couldn't turn around from in a short period of time, which I'll never do again, obviously.
Learn your lesson.
I lost a lot. So eventually Black Box is not sustainable. I end up closing Black Box down. And then at this point, the employees went from like 100 to like 6.
Wow.
Yeah. Over like a 3-year period.
That warehouse you had down there was huge.
It was
massive.
huge. It was like a Walmart.
It was insane.
It was insane.
That's one of the best skate parks I've ever skated too.
Sold the real estate and liquidated what I could, but I still now owed this factory this money. I licensed the brands just to help me recover from the emotional toil of this whole process. Everything I had built was kind of on the rocks. I licensed Zero and Fallen to Dwindle.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
I did a 5-year license to Dwindle. And they had the means with Globe there to be able to give Fallen the best possible chance, being already having so much footwear experience in the building.
Right.
And then because Zero was different than their brands, it gave them something to offer shops in order to help shops that may have not been strong where Zero customers were strong. It all made sense, right?
Sure.
At any rate, we made the best shoes over the next 2 years with Dwindle that we had ever made, but it still wasn't working. I was like begging my friends that own skate shops to take the shoes. And it was to a point where we couldn't meet minimums anymore.
Wow.
And so I now have the person I loaned the money to coming and going, wait, you shut Black Box down? That was part of the guarantor on my loan, and now you're with someone else. How are you going to pay me back? So they filed lawsuits against me and each one of the individual brands.
Oh.
And so at this point, I'm analyzing the market. Fallen it's not looking good for Fallen, and now I have this $1 million loan is at $1.4 million because the interest has gotten it to 1.4. So I owe the factory 1.4 million, and Zero and Fallen are the only two brands. Zero, Fallen, and Mystery are the only two brands that I still own. So I'm trying to figure out how I can get out of this and what's the best route to still have a life in some of this.
Sure.
So it's like goes from the best case scenario to worst case scenario in 5 years. At any rate,
That's quick.
I'll wrap this up. So we go into negotiations, and I settle for signing over the trademarks for the debt, paying a cash settlement, and that was it. And so I shut Fallen down, signed over the trademarks. The Fallen wasn't working anyway. It was like Dwindle. They'd been pouring money into it. It wasn't working for them. Wasn't working for me. And so we closed Fallen down, and then I signed over the trademarks to the factory.
Okay.
The factory held on to them for 2 years, and we had a licensor and our licensee in Argentina that had been licensing Fallen went through Black Box.
Oh, okay.
And they expressed interest to the manufacturer that they would be interested in buying the trademarks. So they bought the trademarks, relaunched in South America. It went well. Then they, I think, planned on Europe, and it was being received well. And this is 5 years. So it basically gave the market like us enough time to want something like Fallen again and for that nostalgia to come bubbling to the surface.
Okay.
And then they had plans to relaunch in the United States. They hired my ex-partner, Chad, to help launch that project. And he went back and assembled the team. He came to me and asked what my thoughts were. I was like, man, you do you. Like,
That's what it is. What
Wait,
it is.
they ask you to be a part of it, or
They did ask me to be a part of it, but they offered me $500 a month, so I declined.
I kindly declined.
I respectfully declined. So, and at that point, I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I know I didn't want to go from owning a company, and there's a lot of ego in here too. I'll admit that. I started a company, owned a company, saw it at its peak, and then was going to come as a team rider with very little influence over the company and ride for him for $500.
Sure.
That just seemed like I'd rather not do that.
Yeah.
So
I understand.
yeah, and around
For
this
sure.
time, I'd already been talking to Angel at Stray, and he was doing something new, and he wanted Muska and I to be involved. So it just, the timing wasn't good for me, but the fact that they were able to call Chris and Tommy and the team, Billy and the team riders that used to ride for it, and some of those guys were either in flux or in between shoe deals, and they were able to get the band back together. But your original question was, how does that feel for me? It's tough. It's tough to watch something that I was so passionate about, that I put so much into, exist in such a different way than I saw it. But at the same time, there's like...
But you also went through turmoil with it also. You went through the lowest of the low.
Yeah. But I just see it as, it's a part of my journey to just accept that I don't have control over these types of things. And I just have to be happy for my friends that they have a sponsor, and they, Cole gets to design and make cool shoes. And I just keep trying to focus on what I'm doing and not really worry about it. So.
And how did that make you? Did you have any issues or things going back to Fallen when this all came around? Because you obviously knew all of this story that Jamie's telling.
No, totally. But because of what he built and it being so special to me, it made all the sense in the world to me, because I didn't go through the turmoil that he went through with it. So it didn't have any sort of a tinge of I don't know, of anything to me. It was just kind of oh my God, I get to make the Trooper again.
That was it. Yeah.
It's kind of.
Did you have a conversation with Jamie about it, or you just went for it?
No, we did.
Oh, you did.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a cool thing that you have with Fallen, is you have nostalgic stuff there. People grew up on Fallen. A lot of shoe companies don't have that.
True.
Yeah. I mean, you would know most. You're doing the S thing.
Yeah,
so.
for sure. But that's you have to love what you're doing. I could tell that you love the shoes and what you built.
Yeah, it's pretty. It's interesting to want to design more in new stuff.
Yeah.
When you have the old nostalgic stuff that means so much, but you just keep doing colorways of it, and you're happy to have it out for people who grew up on it and want it, but you also want to do new stuff.
Yeah.
So it is tricky, because you kind of want it all at the same time.
Yeah.
So there we are.
What a journey.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Well, I mean, thank you for telling us all this, because it's incredible to, business and skateboarding isn't always, glitz and glamour and,
it's
business and skateboarding is very difficult. It is the most... skateboarding goes in these waves. It's up, it's down, it's crashing, it's rising. It's it's the hardest thing. And I feel like skateboarding has a ceiling to it. We can't sell a skateboard to somebody in Wisconsin who lives on a farm. There's no reason for him to buy a Zero board.
It is.
You know what I mean?
It is a trip, though, to look at other brands in other places, because you'll see a small guitar company that's barely hanging on, and they sell so many guitars. They have a massive warehouse and stuff like that, and you're this isn't even one of the top the top 10. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So when you do that, and knife companies and things like that sell to the general public, you can imagine probably the smallest soccer ball company sells way more than we would sell in skateboarding of anything.
True. Yeah. It's a hard business. Yeah. It's very hard.
I don't understand, Jamie, personally, incredible what you've done, both of you guys, but I trip out on you, is just being on that business guy, designing shoes, working with team riders, filming them, going out and skating and filming video parts. How did you ever was there ever a balance to it all? And having a family? There was never like, how did you? It must
how can one man be so lucky?
how could you? How that's so much.
I was a workaholic.
Yeah.
I'm a recovering workaholic. Straight up. I mean, we're laughing at it, but I am.
That's real shit right there.
I have reprioritized my life to not be that man anymore.
Yeah.
Just as if it were a drug, success was my drug. And I was addicted to it, and I wanted more of it, and I wanted to be doing everything. And I think that with that level of intensity and obsession with something, it can get unhealthy. And I was definitely in the unhealthy realm. All those things you just listed is too many things.
Well, you're going out skating with Chris and you're filming him. Chris is out there just skating, focusing on skating, and you he has no idea about all this other stuff going on in your life.
I mean, he did because I shared with him, but it's really early mornings and late nights.
Yeah.
That's really what it turns into. You're running the business in the morning and at night. And you're trying to dream up products always, constantly. But the problem is your mind never sleeps, and then you're unavailable for the people that really need you to be there with them.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
And my wife, God love her, she held it down for a lot of years while I was exploring all of that. And, but I would be lying if I said there wasn't wounds there,
Sure.
There's PTSD around my obsession. My ability to slide into obsession is real, and it can still happen. But now we have this, way and this conversation of checkpoints, and and I've reprioritized my life since then. I went through about an identity crisis about 5 years ago. I think I might have talked about it on the show, and I had my identity. My identity was upside down, and I really had to analyze my life and analyze the man I wanted to be and make some changes, or I was going to lose the next level. So I'd already lost the business because, I bit off more than I could chew, and I was completely addicted to success and just wanted more and more and more. To be honest, I don't think there is a version of this story where I didn't go bust.
Yeah.
I think I would have gone bust. It would have just kept going.
Yeah.
I would have kept going because I was so arrogant and that I thought I was just going to continue growing and continue killing it forever.
Sometimes the ego be like that, bro. When you're really in that moment, and don't get me wrong, those moments are great, and you want to flourish, and you think that shit's gonna last forever, but you got to find balance, bro. And it seems like you have found true balance, in these stages, which is really rad.
I mean, all of that crumbling was the best thing that ever happened to me. That's it took me a while to see that. But now I know what really matters, and and a lot of the people that worked for the company I worked at, I haven't spoken to them since since that time. So I've always felt like I was trying to fight for the people, but really the people I need to be fighting for is my family, and so I need to be respectful to everyone.
Sure,
but I owe it to my wife. She held it down for a lot of years. And now, we've been in recovery for, 5 years of me, transforming into the man that I'd like to see me be. And so I can be the best version of myself for her and our kids, and also the employees at Zero and everyone else in my life. But
for sure.
Yeah, that was a difficult time period. But it was very little sleep, and there was just a lot of motivation. Just, I also was exploring. I'm sure you guys have all experienced this at one point where you're trying to push yourself and see how far you can go.
Sure.
And I was pushing it to see how far.
No?
Just kidding.
I was pushing.
Perfect man. It's a perfect man.
Like skating, I used the same rules that I used in skateboarding to push it to see how far I could go. I tried to do that in business.
Yeah.
And there's a saying, you cruise around with dynamite in your pocket long enough, it's bound to go off.
Ooh.
And so I eventually hit the wall and had a time of reckoning and got brought to my knees. So, yeah.
And like you said, man, it's probably the best thing that ever happened to you.
Yeah.
And that's you hear people say that all the time, but it's your truth.
He explained it.
Totally.
So it's you hear people say it, but he explained it.
100%.
But I'll admit, it's taken almost 10 years to appreciate that sentence. For it to be real and for it to be real gratitude.
Right.
Instead of bitterness or resentment or victimhood, whatever. I struggled with all of that for a long time.
Yeah.
Till you get to the point where oh, I see, this was what needed to happen in order for me to really do the work that I needed to do in order to be the man that I could be. So
I love it. I love the journey. I love the story, and I love that you share it because, like, I think it's part of your journey, but it's important for people to hear. Because, I mean, everybody has a dream, right? And sometimes you need to be humbled.
Some dreams are better than others.
You know what I mean?
But for real though, salute to your better half, obviously, and obviously salute to you and like this journey that you've gone through. You know what I mean? To really realize, because I think that type of like recognizing that true inner self and realizing that you want to change, that's probably like that's one of the hardest things to do.
especially when your ego's that big.
That's what I'm saying, bro.
Yeah.
Real talk.
I mean, I will take zero credit for it. I mean, obviously, I made the initiative to change, but I almost lost my family as well.
Totally.
That was last on the list.
Yep.
And it was like, okay, how much more can one man lose before he wakes up?
Right.
For real.
And so it was at that point where I'm like, okay, wow, you know, the business is gone, the friends are gone, now the wife is almost gone. So like, you better get a clue.
Yeah, man.
So anyway, I got help.
Yeah.
I wasn't willing to admit that I needed help, but I got help.
It's good.
I got into therapy and
Good for
got
you,
into
bro.
recovery, and I got into some men's groups, started seeking mentorship, and yeah, that was the best thing that I ever did.
Good for
It's a
you,
beautiful
bro.
thing. I love it.
Straight
I
up.
love it.
How is it like working with Jamie now compared to what it was like back then?
Oh, it's way different.
Yeah.
Except for it's still like, you know, it's still my dude.
Yeah.
So it's like we have a really good working rapport the way that it's always been. You know, like we're just way quicker with communication now. Like if I text him, he texts me back immediately. There's no lag at all.
Yeah.
Before there was a lag.
Totally, because he had a fucking million things, and he's like, and he's
Jamie's
prioritizing
laughing.
his time better and stuff. So it's like it's really quick. But if I don't text him back, because now I'm the shitty texter, right?
Okay.
If I don't text him back pretty quick, he's just like, hey, let me get an answer to that when you can.
Okay.
You know, like pretty quickly. You know, and I'll have my hands full at the wood shop or something. But we've always had a really good rapport with like board graphics and ideas and stuff like that. Like sometimes there was like an Amazon commercial 100 years ago when Amazon first started, and the person was calling up customer service because the package arrived so fast they weren't quite ready for it yet. Right? They just ordered it, but mentally they weren't ready for it, and they wanted to return it because it came too quick.
Wow.
We just released a set of boards, a Tomas board and a Cole board, and they have daisies and roses on them, right? And I wasn't ready for them to come in. Like, it was just like that. Like, it happened so fast. And, yeah.
Oh, the turnaround time is a lot quicker.
Yeah, I was like, surprise, those boards, remember that? That came from your computer? They're ready.
I think what he's trying to say too is that he gave me an idea and pitched an idea to me, and I'm like, yeah, I like it.
Mhm,
And then we moved on it, and then we put them into production like a week or two later.
Wow.
So I guess, but I respect and I want our dudes to be involved. And if someone's got an idea and they're clear about what it is that they want to do, and even if it's a little bit of a departure from what we normally do, I think it's important to support those initiatives.
And explore.
Like the
also,
ringer
right?
shirts.
Yeah, we made ringer shirts recently, and I always hated ringer shirts. I had like a photo in '93 in one, and I always hated the photo.
And ever since he had that photo, I've loved ringer shirts. I've been like, ringer shirts.
You loved ringer shirts because of that
Love
photo.
it.
He hates
Love ringer shirts. No, I
Yeah.
love ringer shirts because of 90s music, you know what I mean? Like Liz Phair and stuff like that.
Same. The other dudes, Dane and Kurt, team manager, they wanted to make ringer shirts because they were influenced by the same '90s
Where
bands
the
that he's
hell is
talking
that?
about.
it. Floral boards.
That's
Oh
a
my
kick.
God.
That's
I
a kickflip. That's a banner
Forgot.
on the Zero site.
I
But,
forgot that I did that kickflip. I was like, where is that? I
There it
remember
is.
now.
At any rate, these guys wanted to make ringers, and I was like, I don't like ringers. You guys just do whatever logos you want. I'm just gonna stay out of this one.
Okay.
I don't stay out of stuff very often with Zero. I'm pretty
They
involved.
came out
Old
so
Jamie.
good.
Old
They
Jamie
came out
would not-
so good.
Okay.
Old,
good.
old Jamie would not have given up the reins, even for the ringer.
Now,
I would have the executive
Silver
decision.
bullet again. You'd be like, oh, I found another one.
but giving
Look
up
at that thing.
giving up the reins, does that feel freeing to you? Like knowing that they did come out really sick, and Chris Cole likes them, and other
I still
people on
don't
the
think
team.
they're sick. But But I'm hyped. But I'm hyped that the dudes that wanted them. Oh, first off, they sold great.
Okay,
That's a bless.
Yeah, and the guys that wanted them, Dane, Kurt, Cole, they all get to celebrate in the fact that they sold great, and I didn't want to do it. So
Totally. It would have sucked the other way around. Like everybody's like, we gotta make ringers, and he's like, fine, I hate it, but we'll do it. And then boom, see, they suck. Everybody hates them.
that's
No
what
more
you
listening to you guys.
That's what he wanted, right? But
no,
you,
I didn't want that.
I know.
I didn't
I'm kidding,
want that. I'm all for it. If these guys got ideas and they want to activate.
You gonna order one?
See
Chris?
that?
Yeah, I'm gonna order one. I'm gonna
sold out.
Well, they're
Sold
large,
out.
sold out in my
Sold out.
size.
I would
Sold
love
out
to see
for it.
Chris in one of those.
Well, we're gonna order an extra large
Chris,
right now.
Chris
Add to
Roberts.
cart.
Chris.
Yeah.
Well, I'm
Because I was
ordering.
like,
You want one too? You want one too? Put it in the cart.
put it in the cart.
Yeah.
Extra large?
Anyway,
Nah,
yeah.
dog. Not yet.
So I want to talk about also because you left Zero.
You do have the hard hitting questions. This is sick. You really laying out. Let it go, girl.
It's why leave Zero after 13 years, right?
I don't know.
Something like that.
I wasn't doing
long time.
Yeah, it was 13 years.
13 years.
That was what was the top graphic. Said 13 years.
13 years, the top graphic.
That was last board.
Why did you leave?
I think there was I'm sure there's
Jamie's like, yeah, let's hear it.
Let's hear it.
well, I'm sure there's two different sides of it, right? I felt like there was a like we were growing apart in a lot of different ways, and I think in hindsight there was a lot of a dynamic shift in my life as a dude, and like you kind of have your home and then you stray from home to kind of figure out yourself, and because I've just always been under this camp, you know, and like the mentorship, and you know, it's just always been this reality, right? And then I went and I started doing like contests and all these things that weren't the priority of Zero necessarily, you know?
Okay.
And that got very, very consuming. The contest thing got like a bit too much consuming.
What are we talking about? The street leagues and
Yeah,
different things?
like because jam style contests are different. But with the street league contests, specifically like any run contest, or like you have a number of goes and you have to put up scores, was very, very difficult for me. So I had to hyper focus on it and like really figure out how I could like beat the game in a way. And that became such a priority that it actually made me kind of a pain in the ass to have on the team in a lot of ways, because if they're on tour, I've got to fly in and fly out. Kelly probably knows all about this. You have to fly in to a street league from tour and then fly back to the tour from a street league, because there were a billion stops at that point.
But that's in your own mind, though, or is that something that Jamie, like,
That's
would
real.
you agree with him?
No,
That he's a pain in the ass?
Yes.
Because,
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
Totally.
Because you got
It's disruptive.
So there's a few things.
Okay.
One is we were going into some tough times during this time.
Got you.
So what we were living is like we were having like camping trips. The budget was cut to nothing, and we're going on camping trips. And this dude's flying out of bougie hotels and coming in to slum it with the Zero team for a week.
Uh-huh.
And his new contract, or his new, and I'm communicating with an agent about his time. And then the agent is telling me that he only has 7 days this summer that he can give to Zero.
Oh, you're dealing with,
Yeah.
you're not even dealing with Chris
Well,
anymore.
he's
Wow.
He's a business, and this is the peak of his career, and he's being pulled in all these different directions. And Zero is just one more person putting in a request for his time.
Wow.
So I agree with him that it was mutual in the sense that he is focused on another aspect of his career that is not conducive to what we were doing with Zero. So I wouldn't say a pain in the ass, but it is difficult to go to a demo and not have your biggest dude at the demo.
True.
And then to have him come in and only have a limited amount of days, and then him also feel like, what the hell, why are we slumming it so hard? I'm like one of the biggest names in skateboarding. And he wouldn't say it exactly that way, but
Right.
that feeling was felt.
Okay.
He definitely was leaving some bougie hotels and coming, and we're like we don't know where we're camping tonight, and we're gonna renegade this campsite, and then we're gonna get kicked out first thing in the morning. And it was hectic. That actually happened, but
okay.
At any rate,
that was hectic.
Yeah.
It was hectic.
I'm sure anybody would be like this.
Yeah, yeah. It
Going
was
from the Ritz-Carlton to getting kicked out of a campsite.
Yeah, it was pretty harsh.
Like I can definitely do the slumming trips. This one was pretty buck.
But at this time, we were growing apart because we didn't have our normal rapport. We weren't filming video parts together. We weren't spending the time in the van. It's just like any relationship. If you're not spending time together,
it's tough.
It's growing apart, you know. And he still was our biggest guy, and we were committing the most funds to him. Like he was our highest paid team rider by a long shot, and we're getting the least from him than any other team rider. So it's starting to make less sense for Zero. And then, you know, him going on these bullshit camping trips that we're getting kicked out of campsites is making less sense for him. And I felt like the nail in the coffin is when the company was struggling and I was completely wrapped up in trying to keep the train on the tracks. I signed a license deal with Dwindle and didn't even call him to tell him. That's where our relationship was. And so I remember getting a call from him going, dude, I just found out about this through the industry. Is this real? Did you do this? Do I not? And that was the end of the end.
That was it.
And for me, I was, you know, my communication with Cole wasn't so frequent that he was the first person on my mind. That's my fault. You know what I mean? He still was the biggest guy on Zero at the time, and I should have had a priority list, and his name been near the top of the list.
Also, I think it kind of sucks too that like here you guys were like the best of friends communicating, but now you're going through an agent.
Totally, and that's like, you know,
can't even talk to your buddy.
Well, that's the thing too. Like that happened like gradually that I didn't notice it was happening because my brain was so wrapped up with all the places I was being pulled that if there was anything other than just like figuring out how to do hard tricks first try, it went to somebody else. Like somebody else deal with it. Emails, somebody else deal with it. Like everything, somebody else deal with it. I'm spread too thin.
Phone calls?
I would take phone calls. I'd do interviews and stuff like that, but it was like
you were
I couldn't commit to anything. So if you told me anything, I felt like Bilbo Baggins, like butter spread over too much bread.
Yeah.
You know.
So
I don't know what that reference means.
I don't know either, but I like it.
Yeah, but the people that get it, they'll get it. Like, that's my guy.
So I almost feel like that breakup was mutual at that point.
I think it was. I mean, we couldn't, and to be honest, Zero was getting really small, and his salary was not small. And so, you know, there was two parts. One was like me calling his agent and saying, hey, we're having a tough time paying Cole. Can we try to potentially revisit how we pay him and how we come up with the dollar amount? And we were trying to figure out if we could do quick strike of boards and pay him a different royalty on the website. And like, we were trying to get creative. I was trying to get creative to get him the same dollar amount, but get there in a different way. But then not have it all in the company that if he doesn't sell that many boards each month, we have a guarantee that's way beyond what we're capable of paying. So it was another scenario where there was a contract in place. It was a 5-year contract. We were at like year 3.5. And I had, due to the height of his career, I had offered him a stock option in Zero, which would have been if we ever sold the company, he would get 10% of the revenue from the sale. At this point, when we were talking about this, there was a real concept that we would sell the company someday. But I didn't see this.
This is 3 years before what we're talking about right now.
No. So it wasn't at the beginning of his contract. It was like a year into his contract.
Okay.
We put in an ownership. It was kind of like a bonus clause that if we ever sell the company, because he had the potential to get ownership elsewhere at this point because he was at the peak of his career. And so we're like, how do we make all this work? And to make it work, it was a separate agreement to his 5-year deal.
Okay.
But it was like, in order to make it all work, there had to be some incentive for him to stay on Zero that would have been similar to what he would be offered if he started something.
Yeah, and ownership is great.
Ownership is only great if you sell the company.
Yeah, true. That is definitely true.
Right.
But there was a hope to sell the company because I knew I couldn't do it forever at this point, and I didn't know what the future held. But then when the bottom fell out, it didn't make sense to sell it for pennies on the dollar.
Right.
So by the time we're talking about his contract, the scenario of me ever selling the company for something that's going to give him a payday is not happening. So the agreement was let him out a year and a half early to his contract, and then we get rid of the 10%.
Oh, you would dissolve that?
Yeah, dissolve the 10% phantom stock that equals a bonus. So that was dissolved, and that's basically how we handled it. And
got you.
You know, to be honest, it was sad, but at the same time, it was
relieving?
Fairly obvious. Yeah, and relieving, but it was obvious for both of us that we needed a break and that he needed to go do his own thing.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it was not. There wasn't like hard feelings, but it wasn't like we were hanging out the next.
So
week
so it wasn't. It was tough though, no? Or was it just at that point in time where you're just like, I got to go do my own thing?
No.
I mean, every breakup's tough, right? But
totally. But like, yeah, it was definitely it was a weird feeling, but it was also a weird time in like the skate thing. Like I said, with the contest being so like stretching me too thin, it was,
because we're talking like 2014-ish.
It's almost like it's almost like after a breakup, you try to stay busy, so you don't think about the breakup.
Distraction.
Yeah, like I was distracted. So like even if there were feelings of being like, man, you know, that's kind of home. It always felt like home too. You know, it always felt like a break from home, because it was like, I can't get away from Zero because Zero and I are one and the same to everybody. So like,
yeah,
and it was pretty funny, because when I got back on Zero, there were people that were like what, he wasn't on, like they didn't even know, like, at all. Like it's just because if they didn't see any announcement and didn't pay close attention, they would just see my skating and go zero.
Yeah,
100%.
In the same token, some people think I still own, ride for Fallen.
Oh, they do, huh?
Yeah. Totally. I put an Instagram post up for me lasering my tattoo off, and everyone went crazy.
Oh wow!
They're like, wait, what do you mean? It was actually created a lot of controversy, because it was like I was dissing my homies that were on the brand.
Oh, interesting.
But I was just moving forward.
You were doing it for. I mean, people don't think of it. People.
It's a pretty ballsy move, though. I didn't need to put it on Instagram.
Yeah, it's like a hard post.
It was a hard post.
Yeah. This was hard. Right when Fallen.
Not right.
Oh, okay.
This is like 2019. It was like 3 years into the the new Fallen, but I felt like I needed to distance myself. But it affected a lot of people.
Listen, you did it for yourself, man, right?
Yeah. I mean, I did it to,
I mean,
to say where.
There's been crazy Instagram posts. Some people throw their trash in the board in the trash. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
good post. There you go.
You know what's funny though is if you're
that was amazing.
If you're not put together and you're a crazy person, you can get away with all sorts of nut stuff.
Sure.
But like when you're kind of put together and you do something that's a little bit like
left field,
not exactly what everybody would love, right? It's like
you get crucified.
Yeah.
I'm
but
cool with
it. Shows that it affected you slightly, but you know what I mean. At the end of the day, you wanted to do that. So
I gave the apologies where they needed to go.
Sure.
And then was like, but I'm not taking it down,
Yeah.
because I'd have nothing to do with Fallen, and the world needs to know.
Okay, so now we're years later, right? You quit in 2014, I think, Zero. 13 years on Zero. Now we're back.
We're
back. How did that all come about? And it seemed like a natural thing. And also when it, like we were talking about before, when it got announced, it was such good news.
Yeah, people were happy.
Like, yeah,
skateboard industry was happy.
Scratch the itch.
Yeah.
I started skating with the Zero dudes a lot more. I was skating with the team, and I was like really kicking it with Dane and just going out on these Zero missions. Every single time I skated, I was skating with the Zero dudes. I just wasn't on Zero. But like with all that history, feeling like I'm part of this thing, and then skating with the dudes all the time, it was like, this makes so much sense. So I started spray painting my boards and putting like a geometric line shape situation.
Were you already off Plan B?
Yeah, it was off.
Okay.
And so I started spray painting this thing, right? And like making these geometric like lines and stuff like that. But what that throw was it was a year before getting back on zero. But in my brain, it was doing my sort of like line geometric art stuff, but it also reminded me of the zero bold. And so I was getting back to a zero bold.
Okay.
And different than the first time he got on zero, I was his main advocate. And this time I was the last person on board.
Wait a minute. Why?
Because
I love this.
First, there's a lot of reasons.
Do tell.
I will say there's a lot of reasons.
Okay.
And one is because of kind of how the breakup happened, in that we didn't have a rapport in a relationship. So I knew that it made business sense, but I was trying to approach life in a little bit of a different way of what feels right, like what feels good, not just like how does this make business sense. And so for me, I didn't feel like we had an opportunity to like talk about everything that had happened.
Ooh, you needed a closure for that one part in time.
Or I needed to share how I felt about how it went, how it's been, and how it feels now. And then there's one thing, I don't want to spend a lot of time on this, but the Chris Cole documentary what was it called again?
Motivation 2.
Motivation 2. So Motivation 2 came out, and I was a full villain. And in that, I didn't appreciate how I was portrayed. That's the best way.
Yeah, sure.
Mm. I didn't appreciate how I was portrayed, and I offered to do an interview, even though he and I weren't in like a relationship that much at the time. Like we weren't really friends. We weren't hanging out. Mm-hmm. But I still had respect for him, and I definitely had respect for all that we did, and had just a deep level of love and respect for everything that we had done. Because by this point, it was, over a decade of traveling together and being bros. The last year or two where he was, completely committed to the contest scene, rightfully so. That was, the part of his career, the peak of his career. Mm-hmm. We didn't really have a relationship. And so when I said yes to doing this interview, it was kind of like I was going out on a limb for what was. And then I saw this documentary, and there's two things happened. One is I was portrayed as a villain, and I thought it was just super lame. It was like basically like reality television.
Okay.
And then they used all the footage from all of our videos in this documentary that was like seen everywhere with zero permission. No one came and asked any permission from myself, the filmers, and we own the rights to all of it. And it just felt like so backhanded.
Interesting.
I felt like I was like made out to be this big asshole, but we'll take everything that we want from you, and it's all about glorifying Chris Cole.
Right.
So that felt like really dirty and bad. And then we didn't have a relationship where I could call him and tell him like, hey man, have you seen this yet? How do you feel about this? And he never called me and said, hey Chief, sorry the way you look in there, and sorry we ripped off all your footage. So I was just like, this is like something that needs to be talked about.
Sure.
Yeah, it's fair.
We hadn't talked about it. And when he's skating with the team, I'm not on those sessions because I've now taken the initiative to make changes in my life, and I've pulled myself out of the van. One of my biggest issues with my identity is that I put me being a pro skateboarder before everything else.
Right.
Everything. My wife, my kids, God, everything. I put me being a pro skateboarder first. And I'm now in my 40s reliving my highlights on Instagram so everyone can celebrate me. And
little TBTs.
yeah.
Flashback Friday.
W's, TBTs, TBMs.
TB every day.
I'm glad you guys are celebrating. At any rate, I'm using Instagram to get my validation and feel like I have some worth still. Uh-huh. And I have now pulled myself out of the van so I can right-size my identity, because being a pro skateboarder should not be at the top of my list.
For sure.
And so I'm no longer skating with the team on the weekends and on a regular basis. I'm trying to figure out how to run the company and find the balance that Kelly was asking me if I had that whole time I looked like I had it. And I'm putting that together. But a part of that also was wanting to do the right thing by myself, by the brand, and go about it in a different way than I would have done it in the past, where it was all opportunistic.
Sure.
I was an opportunistic person.
Okay.
And so I was in no hurry to make it happen, and I really wanted to have to rekindle a relationship between Cole and I.
Before.
And I didn't think that it made any sense, because I was getting hit up by the team on it weekly. And I was like, look, Cole and I haven't spoken about it, and there's a lot of stuff we need to go through. And I'd reached out to Cole a couple of times when he was talking about the texting, and I wasn't texting back. During this time, he was the guy not texting me back.
Okay.
So he wasn't texting me back that much, and I felt like I was trying to pursue the makeup, but he's trying to get on zero. Or he's skating with the team, and the team's trying to get him on zero.
Sure.
And I was like, okay, this is lopsided. This is the old days. I'm pursuing the makeup, and the team's trying to get him on zero. And I'm like, okay, I'm stopping pursuing the makeup. I'm putting that completely on hold, and I'm going to let him come to me and talk to me about, hey, I'd like to ride for zero. What do you think?
Yeah.
And then I would say, well, hey, let's have a conversation. I think there are a lot more to discuss here. At least there is on my part, and hopefully if you have anything, you can share it too. So that's how it went, and it took about a year to get to that meeting.
Got you.
And I made a few passes to try and, because the team's putting pressure on me, like, hey, Cole wants to ride for us. Why are we not putting him on? You know, and the sales dude also rides for the team, Adam, and he's skating with Cole every weekend. And it's like, everyone's ready to make it happen.
He's like, I could sell his board, man. Easy.
Everyone's ready to make it happen. But I'm like, I reached out a few times. I want to let you guys know I reached out a few times, and I haven't gotten the response that says I'll be there Tuesday at 2:00.
Sure.
So I feel like I'm trying to make it happen, and I want to, and I'm not trying to hang you out to dry here. You know, I'm just saying it, because he had his own stuff going on at this time. It was family, and there's different. We all have different things going on at different 100%. Times of life. I'm not trying to judge him, but I also wasn't in the position just to put him back on zero because the team's telling me to, and I do it from a distance. I yell out the window as I'm driving away. Hey, Cole, you're back on zero.
Right. You didn't want that.
Yeah.
You know that scene in Zoolander when Derek needs to hide out at Hansel's place, and they have to like hash it out front. That's kind of what it was.
That was the moment.
That's pretty much it.
So when he finally did come to me, I said, "Hey, can we sit down and talk about stuff?" Mm-hmm. And he said yes. I said, "Where would you like to meet?" He's like, "You can come to my place." I came to his place, and we met, and he listened to everything I had to say, and apologized for anything that was there, and then he shared things with me, and I apologized for anything that needed to be apologized for, and then we were like, okay, I'll get, and I just, I remember leaving saying, I'll get back to you. And then I started kind of conceptualizing, what will this look like? What will this feel like? How can we do it differently? Mm-hmm. And what would be the next step? And the next step would be going back and going, okay, last time I signed you with a big fat guarantee. We're not in the position to do that. Zero's tiny now.
Sure.
We're running Zero out of like an office, like a single office, like super small, like 1,000 square feet or something. And anyway, he was like, really flexible. And the first thing on the contract was, I will not communicate with a manager.
True.
It will be this relationship. It is acknowledged by both parties. This relationship will be between you and I. So, and he was already phasing out of that, but I just wanted to make that clear.
Did you feel the same type of need to have to talk before?
I was really happy to do it. Mm-hmm. I am avoidant of most conflict. I really don't.
Confrontation.
Yeah, like I don't necessarily love it.
Yeah.
So I definitely was. Yeah, let's talk about that.
Like you knew it had to be talked about.
Totally.
Right.
And it was totally cool. And 4.5 hours later, I was on zero.
It was like his first nightclub. Yeah. No, but that's it. But look where you guys are now, though. This is it's such a beautiful
Look at us.
Yeah.
Who would have thought? Not me.
I think when we got that stuff out of the way, we could start rebuilding a relationship.
Right.
We were also going through, we were navigating. Our kids are similar ages. We've been with our wives for a long time. We were navigating some similarities that we were able to connect on as well. And it was good to be able to start developing a relationship again, because that's really what needed to happen. We needed to develop a relationship. I mean, we all see business as, like this is a good opportunity for the company, and, you make boards because you make money and whatnot. But if the relationship and the communication is not there, then what's the other stuff really worth?
Totally. I definitely agree.
And mutual respect. If the mutual respect's not there.
Yeah.
Straight up.
And this is the post that you did, Zero Skateboards, feels good to be home. Boards dropped 914. So it felt great, though, right? To be back, and you had already gone on your journey. You got Plan B, and
Yeah.
you'd
You're at DC for a while too.
yeah, experimented with different things.
Yeah, so it was nice too, because I think, like, personally, I felt like because I grew up like under the mentorship and wing of this dude, there was that still, even though, but the weird part was, like, here I am, like a grown man, like, with children, and like, and I still had that sort of feeling, of like, dad, and I think I needed that, like, that change where I, like, go out on my own and I come back, like, man, like I came back from war.
Yeah, from dad to dude.
Yeah, like where I shook his hand.
The prodigal son returns. I feel like the old relationship ran its course.
Sure.
And there was nothing else I had to offer Chris when he left. Zero. I couldn't provide opportunities. I couldn't provide growth. I couldn't provide things that he needed at that point in his career. And the relationship had completely run its course. Mm-hmm. And the fact that Zero was going down and Zero's stock was going down and Chris's stock was going up, it was a good time for everything to happen. And it was great. It was the best thing that ever happened to me. Just kidding.
And like Dub said, and like J-Lo said, sometimes it bees like that.
It does.
It's interesting, man. I mean, sometimes these things need to happen, right? Like, for growth and closure also.
Totally.
You're slow at returning text. Come on,
no,
man.
not these days.
Oh, not these days.
This is like 3 or 4 years
Okay.
ago. Yeah.
I did a little group chat with you guys recently. Jamie would text back immediately. Chris was a little slower.
It's unrightful.
Hey, for anybody that does, like, woodworking, like, you get a text in the middle of a glue up. What are you gonna do?
A glue up.
Straight up. You got the glue sweats, and you're like trying to.
Well, you got to use dowels, man.
That's joinery, dude. We can talk about that. We can talk about that all tenons and whatnot. We can talk about that all day.
How is the woodworking going?
It's great.
Yeah, you like
fantastic.
it? You have your own shop, your own wood shop.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you just hyper focus on stuff. It's just like skating. Mm-hmm. You'll never be like, you'll never get there, right? Like, just like I'll never do all the tricks, but I'm trying. I'm gonna try. I'm gonna try to catch all the Pokemon. I do the same thing with woodworking. Like, I want to be good, and I want to do all the stuff, and I can hyper focus on it. But I don't know. It's fun. It's really, really fun.
Amazing. I love that we all kind of find different hobbies, if you want to say that, like,
totally.
as we grow older, because
passions.
I mean, skateboarding, we've lived and breathed it for so long, and I know that people out there, like, only want us to breathe and
totally. And you're like,
I have other
you're like,
loves.
Yeah, and also, like, when you're skating, you're like, I skate from this hour to this hour, and there's a whole lot more day than that. And there's like a whole lot more life than only that. And like, if you're in the 20-something thousand hours zone, it's like, I don't know, guys. Like, it's kind of, a lot of it's kind of like riding a bike.
Yeah.
So as long as you do it enough, you can kind of get out there and still just do it.
Are you doing the woodworking like every day?
Yeah, probably. I mean, safe to say.
Yeah.
Because there's enough of that. There's enough of this. I at least stop in, and do some stuff each day. Or there's always some sort of creative outlet going on.
Look at you. Looking at some of his stuff right now on Instagram. What you got? You made a sword? Okay.
I made 16 swords.
You made 16 swords. You made pens. You make. Oh, is this bee honey dipper?
Yeah. It's really.
It's a bee swatter.
It's so weird. So weird.
What do you mean? Why is it weird? It's beautiful stuff, man.
Oh, thank you.
Super rad, bro.
It's the dowels we were talking about.
Is that? Oh,
those are splines.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, you have to glue long grain to long grain. So that's why they're there.
I knew that.
Google it.
My man's is a student.
That's exactly right.
Yeah. Look at him.
When you're passion becomes your like whole world, you find more passions. And so it's like I find myself doing all sorts of like trinketry all day, every day. So if I'm at my house, I'm like pouring epoxy molds and
I love it.
Doing stuff at my house and then doing stuff at the wood shop. And
how did you even get into this?
So my friend Eric, he is a graphic designer, and he got a warehouse space to have a graphic design studio. And he designed for our partner Mike, he designed a whole lot of signage for this place called Oak Tree Mountain that Mike owns. And he redesigned all these businesses and stuff like that. Designed out all of their signs, and then Mike got a quote for how much it's going to be to get those signs made. And it was astronomical. And so he said, well, how much for the machine, the CNC, that would cut the wood to make them? And found out how much that was, and then asked, like, do you guys think you can run the machine? Do you think you can learn? And we were like, yeah, absolutely. So we had a guy come in. We all learned how to run the CNC machine and, like, you know, program cuts and stuff, and we can all use Illustrator and whatnot. So we started doing that, and then we got a laser, and we started making signage. But then I branched off a little bit because I wanted to make things for my house, and a lot of it was straight cuts. And I was like, I don't need to program this thing in Illustrator and in V-Carve and throw it on a CNC for a straight cut. A table saw will do a straight cut, right? And so once I started cutting stuff on a table saw and watching YouTube videos of like how to do that, I was just like, tell me more. Like, leaned all the way in and was just like, give me every tool that I can. Like, now it's like if I get a clean cut that's like perfect fit, clean cut, I'm just like, that's euphoria.
It's like landing a perfect trick.
It is like,
It's like the tray flip down Waldenburg.
Walden.
Yeah,
There it is.
Yeah, but that I wasn't even there for that.
What, the trick down Waldenburg?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Yeah, now would you try like 60 something times? I don't understand.
68.
68.
68
69 in the OE one.
That's crazy,
I know.
bro.
If I would have just held on one line,
One more.
that would have been funny. Yeah. And then as I ride away, I have a calculator. I pull it out. It's upside down. It says boobies.
Yeah, that,
Like I'm just walking gag.
boobless. Yeah, that was
Yeah.
actually, really quick, I want to talk about the backside flip down Love Gap.
Oh, yeah.
Where Josh Kalis bet you $100
Yeah.
that you could do it and you did in 3 tries.
I
That's
think
what
it was
he
4.
says.
I think it was 4.
Either way.
That's
it was under 6 tries. I don't know where it was. I did it fast, and he pulled out 2 $50 bills, and I was like, "Oh my god, dude!" Like, I make none money. You know what I mean? Like, and this dude pulls out 2 50s. Like, you never see 50s.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, now you never see dollars, but like at that point, I was just like, "Damn, this dude's rich."
Wow.
And you switch frontside flip it the same day too?
Yes, same day. I went there to switch frontside flip it, and
Wow.
And it was the second day that I tried to switch frontside flip it because cops came the first day and I broke my board and the cops came and stuff, and then the second day I went back. That gap sucks. It's like it's really cool, but you see, like, I'm not clearing it by a lot.
Right.
You know,
it was
like
long.
normally you try to land gap tricks like an airplane, right? You're not trying to just go straight down. You try to like smooth it out, right? So it's not as much impact. And like I'm barely making it into that fountain. And if there was a drop of water,
You'd slip out.
it was insane. It was the slickest ground.
So he paid you.
Yeah, he paid me.
Paid up.
Like right then.
Wow.
I mean, thank God, right then. I would never have asked him for it.
Could you imagine the next day, like, yo, Josh, like,
where's some of that money?
What's up with that
Also,
hundo?
also, the wrist cuff that I'm wearing when I do that backside flip, that's from the Jamie Thomas Circa line.
That one right there.
Yeah. You betcha.
I love it, man.
Jamie, did you ever offer money for tricks?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, hell yeah, dude.
I came from the school at Rocco.
Yes.
That was it, huh?
And I saw money not as like the motivator, but it was to distract people from whatever it is they were stuck on.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes people would get stuck thinking about something too much or trying too hard, and the money would be just a distraction, and let them do what they were there to do.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I had to pay. Sometimes I would strategically offer the money, and I would gamble on how many tries. So Kane Gale, Front Blunt, and Misled Youth. I think I offered him, I don't know how much money it was, but I gave him 10 tries. And I thought to myself, he does front blunt forward. And I thought to myself, I don't know if that, maybe it was 5 tries. I don't know if it's doable in 5 tries. It might have been like $1,000. Like, yo, I'll give you $1,000 if you can do this in 5 tries. We'll put it in the friends section in slow-mo. So it was like a deal. I was making a contract deal.
This guy's not even on your team or anything.
He's not on the team, but he was rolling up to front blunts and wanted to do it. And I knew Kane Gale could do it. And I was like just there filming it. And I was like, this would be dope. In the friend section, Kane and I have skated together, since like the early days before my career was even popping. So I was like, I'll give you $1,000, 5 tries. And I think he made it like 7th try. Wow. So that's the best case scenario, because it gave him the motivation to get over the hump, but he didn't have to take $1,000, and I didn't have to give him $1,000, but he still got the slow-mo trick in the video, 2 angles. I went up for one, filmed one fish high, he landed on it, and then I got on the van and filmed it right away, long lens. So I was able to film 2 angles in the same day by myself.
Amazing.
I mean, you could have bought that trick for like 200.
Maybe, but at the time, it was the biggest front blunt ever done.
It's really good.
Let's watch it. Where is it?
Like if I think about Kane Gale had a really good backside
point low morale,
and he has this front blunt.
See how it fades right here?
Oh.
There's no filmer there. But you see how black his shirt is? My man's went in.
Yeah.
Yep.
Then Kane was so sick, dude.
Watch how dope he does this.
Yeah. Dude.
Wow. So at the time that was just to familiarize yourself. Yeah, don't go all the way back to your trick.
We're trying.
I know you want to. At any rate, this was the biggest. I have a front blunt in my part down a tin stair at the Bricks, and that was the biggest front blunt, and this was after that, and I knew it was the biggest front blunt ever done.
Right.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like I was just offering him money for something, whatever trick.
Yeah.
I knew he was setting a title. So anyway, but other than that, even back to the Cole at Wallenburg, New Blood was on like what was it, weekend, right? And yeah, it was a weekend, of course, because
you can only skate that in the weekends, pretty much.
Yeah, we were there on the weekend, and the premiere was 5 days away. It was on a Sunday. Premiere was 5 days away. He'd looked into flights to fly his wife out, and they were like $1,000 or something crazy. Anyway, I used to take, or no, I still kind of do, take my role at the session when someone's doing something is to try and help them break down whatever it is, whatever obstacle's in the way, so they can overcome that obstacle and they do what they need to do. I obviously was at Wallenburg, and I was filming the low angle of the 3-flip, and Mike Gilbert was filming on top of the van. At any rate, we had gone through all the different like scenarios of how to keep him going, because 68 tries jumping down Wallenburg in one day is insane.
I don't even understand how you did that.
I don't know that anybody's ever jumped down it that many times. Yeah. And so I think that what was on the line, here for him is he'd already tried it at the Wallenburg contest and hadn't made it, and then knew the potential was there, and this was the last weekend for the video.
You guys had the roll in already there too?
Yeah, we had a roll in.
The funny thing is they've repaved Wallenburg since, the top and bottom. If you like, I don't know if you can see it in the footage, but right before you pop, it goes down.
Yeah,
it goes down, right? And so for about 63-ish tries, I was popping before that, and so I was just killing myself trying to pop before that crack, and then the last 5 goes, I just rode through it and just tried, and I made it in 5.
Yeah, wow. I mean, you really clicked on the very edge right there.
Definitely did.
So my point is that the last try or the last few tries, I was like, look, we got your wife a ticket. It's all good. You make this. You guys will be at this premiere in 4 or 5 days together. This will be amazing. You got it, Cole. You got it. And it was the exact thing he needed to blank out. He went up and did it.
I did actually black out.
Yeah.
You did.
Like, I don't remember doing it because I wasn't home for it. Like, I remember, like, I rode up to it, I blacked out. I remember riding away, and I was like, I'm riding away.
Yeah,
That's the
But
best.
that's happened
That's the
a
best.
couple times, and like I wondered what it was. And I talked to a therapist about it. And they're like, "That's just extreme stress."
yeah.
Like,
Yeah, Huberman came on our show,
Yeah.
talked about it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, it works. So that back to the offering cash for
Yeah.
tricks. I use it when it makes sense.
Yeah.
Some people are offended by it. Some people are like, dude, I do not need your money.
Oh, David Reyes. David Reyes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You can't-
right.
Don't offer him money.
Yeah,
Wow.
Yeah, he doesn't work like that.
It
But
distracts
other
him.
people, but I like to do, and this is one that started getting thrown around with Ian Berry at the backside 3 flip down Carlsbad. He said, if you make it today, because I went back 12 times to get that trick,
Get him.
and he's like, if you make it today, I'll get a stick figure sequence of it tattooed on me. And I was like, that is brilliant. I didn't make it that day, but since then I've taken that and I use James Hardy's nollie tray flip over the handrail into the bank.
Oh, yeah.
The best nollie tray flip ever done.
Yeah,
right?
that was amazing.
It is. I use that as my like, if you do it, I will get James Hardy's nollie tray flip tattooed on me, just because I want James Hardy's nollie tray flip tattooed on me.
You're offering something you already want.
I know.
Yeah, I'm giving a bowling ball with Homer on it. You know.
You just want somebody to land something so you could get this tattoo.
Yeah, at the end of the session, I just throw my board. I'm just like, I'm going to the tattoo shop anyway.
I know what I'm offering next trick you're trying.
There you go. There you go.
What's the most
To pay
money
for
you've
the
bet
tattoo.
on a trick?
Ooh.
I don't think I've ever offered over 1,000, but I've offered 1,000 a lot of times.
Yeah. Have you given it away a lot of times?
Probably like 5. I don't know if I can think of all of them, but definitely. And I've put bounties on tricks before too, like Phelps back in the day. Like Dane told me he wanted a hard flip El Toro, and he went there a couple times and tried, and I was just like $1,000 from now till eternity.
Wow.
Eternity.
On the table.
That's on the board.
It's always there.
And he thought about it for a lot of years, but I think eventually the money idea fades. I mean, it's not really worth it if you're going to get broke off or if you're not feeling it, or if it's also so much emotional and mental and physical stress that it helps to be spur of the moment. Like you're there, you're looking at it, you want to do it anyway. Kitey's heel flip front board, I think I offered him $500.
Oh, on the 16?
Yeah, he did it first try.
That kid's incredible, man.
Yeah,
He
he's
did it first
incredible.
try after 3 hours of riding up to
Yeah.
it and doing 1,000 of them on the 12. Every single go, you'd be down at the bottom of the 16 and you'd hear his tail hit, you'd hear the slide, and you'd hear the land. And then he'd come up and he'd ride up to the 16, and then he'd go back, you'd hear it, and he landed it again.
Wow.
And he comes
Wow.
back, and then you hear it, he landed it again. He did, I don't know how many he did, but he did a lot. Like so many. A record amount of heel flip front boards on that 12. And it's just like, that's just the 12.
He's
You know
not.
what I mean?
He's not exaggerating. He probably did 30 to 50 heel flip front boards. On the,
Jeez.
Seriously,
on the
it
12.
was 3 hours. Imagine
Yeah.
3 hours of going back and forth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he finally got the courage to try. And the reason for that is that he had tried to heel flip front board the 16 a week before and dark slid it, and then got pitched to his back. And
I got that footage.
He's not a real thick human to take that level of a hit. So
Goodness.
he got pretty broke, and he was feeling it. His back was sore for like a week. But he did it first try. Took the $500.
Wow.
That's
I mean, he
pretty cool.
didn't care about the money. It was just a bonus. You know,
For
usually
sure.
the money is just a bonus. It's like the cherry on top.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I
Definitely.
understand the distraction though, because like there, I mean, you could try a trick for 3 hours, 5 hours, and then there's that one thing that just kind of like focuses you on something else.
Well, it's like the cops coming or something, right? You're like,
Last
oh, no,
try.
that's right here. This is it.
Yeah.
This is-
Right.
I'm
Yeah.
actually committing right
Even
here.
taking a
Yeah.
little break, even taking a 10, 15-minute break from what you're doing can like help you kind of reset.
Yeah, it's all actually good to ride off and do a trick that you know that you can do, or just to 50-50 the rail or something like that, because you'll get into a groove. You've like carved a path of bales, and you need to like know what it's like again, to like the timing of it, the timing of falling off the rail, how long that is, and like the rhythm of it. You need to do it again, and then you're like, okay, I'm back in.
For sure, for sure.
What's the craziest mission you guys have gone for a trick? You two together. Is there anyone that stands out at all, or except for maybe I guess Wallenburg could be up there? Or
We drove like to New Orleans. Remember that? That was pretty far. Like from the tour, we like took another car and drove to New Orleans and then met back up with the crew.
Didn't
at,
even
like,
use the
next
footage
city.
either.
You did when you detoured it to New
Yeah, you
Orleans.
remember that
It was
spot in the
so
girl
long.
was a girl video where there's like 2 circles with the stairs going down. There's this little street gap between them.
Yeah.
I
The
think
pads.
I want the pads. I wanted to do a tech trick that I wasn't really that good at, and I used to have these visions of having this well-rounded part. Back in the day, that was my like goal, to have like a well-rounded part with like a switch 360 whip in it. You know. Anyway, I saw that as like, I don't know how far we drove, but I've gone through some really lengthy ones solo. I've put people on a plane. All 3 of us are going to Indianapolis and trying to film this trick at midnight. I put some people in some, yeah. And it was snowing when we landed. Yeah.
Wow.
It was gnarly.
You didn't check the weather when you booked the ticket?
The premiere was in October, and it was like already snowing, and
You needed the trick. Did you get it, by the way?
I got it.
You got
yeah.
it. Which one was that?
It's a backsmith down that fat white rail in Indianapolis.
Oh, the one that's
Cost and
Emotus?
no slide 270.
Yeah, cost and no slide 270.
Yeah. Heath Kirchart. What did he?
Rick Howard. Right.
He's backtail.
Backtail. Yeah.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
those
Anyway,
things are sick.
backsmith. I brought 2 different outfits, and I also filmed a backside nose grind, and I used that in the next part
But why you could have used the same out?
because you can't use that old footage.
Oh, you
Yeah.
wanted,
I already had a backside nose grind for my part, and I knew that.
It's so funny,
Yeah,
man.
it's
Oh,
like,
wow,
Land one
okay.
trick.
That's
Shave
wow.
your head.
Yes,
Wow.
Very impressive.
Wait, so you were actively at the spot and changed your clothes and then did another trick?
I had a few tricks in mind that I wanted to do, and there was those 2. It was backsmith and backside nose grind. And I'm like, I'm going all this way. I took Skin and Lee Dog. It was just us 2. And Buddy Best met us at the airport. He was like a local legend from that Indianapolis. Anyway, he met us at the airport with a generator and lights. And we rented a car, and we all drove down. It was like a 30-minute drive from the airport. We got in at 10 at night, got to the spot at midnight. It was snowing when we landed.
Oh, my God.
It cleared up. I was in full, like bundled up gear. But we got there, back 50, back 50, back 50. And I did backside Smith, got the trick out of the way, and then we went to, and then I changed my full outfit. I remember I had like some weird like pimp hat on. It looked like it could have been out of the chocolate skit.
Get him.
Anyway,
Get him.
I put a whole different outfit
Sick,
on.
dude.
Did the backside nose grind, and I think I used that in New Blood, which was 3 years later.
Get him. I love that.
It's so funny what we do.
You know what's funny
You know?
though? There was a clip at Appleyard. We skating the triple set in Sac, and in the flip video, he backside heel flips it, and then he nollie back heels the big 4 at Machba, and then he nollie back heels it the Sacramento triple set. He did it the same day. But he didn't change the clothes.
But they saved it for the
They saved it for the
video.
next video. It came out like
Right.
2 years later.
He already had a nollie back heel.
He already had it.
Yeah.
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 And I was
It
like,
might have
oh.
been filmed the same angle. That a lot of times, if something's filmed the same angle, you don't want to have 2 tricks same angle.
Yeah.
So, and you're like, oh, I already got this one other way. It's because I think it's nice to switch up between the long lens and the fisheye.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. I mean, you've always had great video parts. I mean, at first, you kind of changed it with the shotgun editing. It's like really quick, bah, 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 in your face, And I don't know, you've just created a lot of like iconic videos.
Thanks, man. It's
Yeah.
generous of you to say.
But 100%, dude.
Appreciate it.
No, that's
Like,
true.
iconic.
What's it like, Chris, to work with him on editing a video part?
It's actually like it's pretty great. Other than what ends up on the chopping block, the stuff that ends up like on the cutting room floor is pretty decent. Like you're gonna lose a lot, but
Yeah.
what you get in the end is tailored perfectly for the song. It's a perfect like up down, just like like one of those old Metallica songs that like takes you through a journey, right? Same thing. It's like it's orchestrated so well. One of the things that I learned when we started going into editing camp, basically where we're like sleeping in the editing room, was like the song is in, the timeline's up, you've got a hole right here. Whereas like most people will fill it with stuff, Jamie will leave it blank a lot of times. Or if there's a trick there, he'll say like this should be replaced,
Okay.
But usually there's just a gap tooth right here. and you know how long that is with the song. So then you can go out and go get a trick for that, because you can see that's a trick up a curb and a trick down a handrail. Like tray flip up the curb, front board the handrail, fish,
there it is.
done. Like, because you vision it and then you can go out and get it.
Right.
Which is like, that's a pretty easy like attack.
Yeah.
For orchestration, rather than just like, I know I've been filming stuff, but I have no idea what it is, and I'm gonna go to spots and then I'm gonna be like, do I have a backside flip Vin? And Vin's like, yeah, we have this back. And I'm like, all right, what about this? Like, no, you know what you have, what you need.
It's a good tactic.
Yeah.
It's really good, actually.
Great tactic.
For sure.
I'm giving all your secrets. I'm sorry.
We've learned a lot today.
I think the goal for me to edit someone else's video part is to make them look as good as possible. And my hope is that they trust me and trust what I've done, and that I can present them with something that kind of gives them the feeling they're looking for and the feeling we're all looking for. And then I try my best to explain why any tricks aren't in the part.
Got
So
you.
it's not just like, like when your parents told you, I told you so, it's like, it's not like I thought those didn't make the cut. And I would go into like, hey, you got, a 3 flip in the start of a line here, and it ends up with this trick where we don't have that trick anywhere else. So we really need that line with the 3 flip rather than this line with the 3 flip, that you have this trick and everyone already knows you can do that. This one's special. So it's kind of like going into the layers of why you make the decisions you make. And I think the more you can communicate why all those decisions are made, it becomes easier to let go. And then that comes with the caveat of, hey, you also have all this footage for another project, or for a homie project, or for a rough cut. Wherever you see it going, you already have a good bulk of work that's kind of done. Mm-hmm. But unfortunately, we only have this amount of time in this song, and all these tricks need to complement each other really, really well. So I feel like people that are willing to have those difficult conversations, Ty Evans, for example, he's notorious for, he has a vision and he is there and he is your advocate, even though he might not feel like your advocate.
Me and Dron know about it.
I felt that.
Even though he might not feel like he's your advocate, when you get to the premiere, you realize, oh wait, I get it. He's my advocate the whole time. Like, he had this big vision. I was a part of the vision, and I had to take a step back and just trust that he has a vision that's bigger than mine.
Because I think what you said before is like the communication is the key, though, for the skateboarder. Because here's us as a skater knowing all the work. Why are you laughing? It's true, right?
Because communication is often the problem and the answer.
This is
damn true.
Damn true. 100%. But as a skater, sometimes we don't get that communication. We don't know, the editor didn't tell us why they left out the tricks, or why our part was cut in half.
Yeah, it's shrouded in darkness.
Kind of.
Unfortunately, you guys rode for a brand that had a lot of people.
Totally.
And that had a lot of initiatives going simultaneously. And you had one person responsible for all of that. So the only way you could get to a place where you could feel okay about what's going on is to be empathetic for the person who's having to make all these decisions under that level of deadline, scrutiny, microscope, whatever, and know that you're a part of the process. But that doesn't make it easy.
It doesn't. It doesn't.
It makes it a very tough pill to swallow. Yeah. I'll be honest, especially when you're in that moment and you got like a week before the video comes out, and you're like, dude, I thought I had a full part, and they're like, nah, man, we've have different thoughts to how this is gonna work, Right. And look, I trust the process. It all worked out, and I'm speaking on where I got cut short and I was in a part with Rick and Tony, and blessings, I'm thankful for that. But like, bro, I was looking forward to having my own part. Mm-hmm. And I had footage to display that, but it didn't come out through his vision. Right. So, we got left high and dry.
For sure.
What I'm saying? For
sure.
But again, I think he did me a service. It wasn't a disservice. So
it was a good watch, man.
It's hard to see that in the time, though. It's really difficult.
Big time.
So I feel like that spot he's in the hot seat. I've been in the hot seat, and all you can do is just try to communicate whatever your vision is in hopes that they're on board. But, I've had to do it. Judd Ferguson, rode for Zero and Misled Youth, and he hurt his ankle and wasn't able to film the part that he wanted to film. And if I would have used all of his footage, it wouldn't have, in my opinion, held up to the rest of the team that were healthy for most of the project. And so I had to have that conversation on the cutting room floor of like, hey man, I'm sorry, your part's not going to go in the vid. You know, I'm going to use your best tricks, and it's going to go in the credits, and we'll highlight it, showcase it. But
how did he feel in that moment?
Oh, it was the worst news he ever could have
Did
heard.
he shed a tear?
I believe he probably did.
Cause I did. You know what I'm saying? Because at that time when you were in those moments, like, this is everything. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
you're on the field.
We're on this. This is you're about to be in one of the biggest videos.
We've worked 4 years or whatever.
Yeah,
the
leading
case
up
may
to
be.
this point, it's like, wow.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's.
I mean, his wasn't that long though, too. So we had been working on it for 9 months or something. He had an ankle injury for most of the 9 months, and he had 5 or 6 really good tricks and 5 or 6 okay tricks and 5 or 6 tricks that wouldn't have normally made the cut.
Right.
And so it just wasn't, there.
Yep.
With that video. So, but you just have to make those calls and have to communicate that as clearly as possible and try and sit there in that discomfort with the person, But as far as what he's talking about is leaving the gap, that's intentional. So you feel a space. You feel that I need to go get something. There's like some intention there. And then you can take a trick from somewhere else and see how it times out and be like, oh, it'd be something like this. And then you watch all the part and you identify what trick's missing that you're really good at that will come easy, so you don't feel stressed about the hole. You feel excited to fill the hole because you got this one trick you want to do and that you're good at and you don't even have it in there yet.
Right.
You know where the holes suck?
Last trick? Yeah, I was just going to ask.
I was like,
have you ever left it?
It's like, hey, you're missing 2. Like the end and like 2 from the end. You're like, oh no.
That's not your filler, bud. We need some good shit here.
Not feeling good, dude.
While we're on the subject, my man here, Chris Cole, is almost done with a full part.
Let's go, bro.
Okay.
That's true.
Okay.
Yes.
What do we have the last trick filmed?
Last trick is
last trick's done.
Yes.
That's good.
We are about 4 tricks that we've identified that he is really good at that should be in his video part.
Okay.
And it's just waiting
just
for
finding
the right spot, and the time.
It's hard. That's actually like one of the bigger issues a lot of times is like when you have those specific moves and especially when you're like, I guess there's specific spots that you need no matter how you skate, but especially when you're trying to do like
Special moves.
Special moves need a special spot, and you can't necessarily find them. You know what I mean? And the skate park will give you an idea of like that you got it, and the streets will give you the idea that you definitely don't got it.
That's so damn
like
true.
like that's super cool that like you can do all those tricks on the skate park handrail that was designed perfectly for you to land skateboard tricks on, but like Riverside doesn't treat you like that. You go to that random handrail that's to code, so it's up by somebody's like ribs.
Yeah.
So if anybody's got a perfect 7 to 8 stair rail out there, mellow,
shaped like Pood's rail a little bit.
We'll take round or square with rounded edges.
What about that one down in
I'm talking to the viewers.
Oh, I know, but
Kelly's trying to fix his problem right now.
What the one in Orange County? It's like Costa Mesa. It's like a 7 stair rail, really mellow. It's black. It's at like I want to say a community center. I can show you, but people have skated it. It's good. It kind of just, I don't know if it's so skatable though.
All right. Well, Kelly's about to solve our problem.
Wait, so we're just looking for one?
No. He needs 4 tricks.
4 tricks.
But one rail trick.
4?
I go through them real quick. Backside flip, 3 flip, back 3, and then a secret trick.
Ooh.
So that's the 4. Those 3 you have to have in a part, right? Audience,
Yeah,
you need
yeah,
you need
yeah.
a Chris Cole backside flip, 3 flip, and back 3.
Don't agree with them.
100%.
Backside flip the UC Davis.
What do you mean you don't
UC
agree with
Davis
them?
cap.
Oh yeah.
UC Davis. Backside flip that.
Tray flip, ring con.
Oh, you've done.
I did that.
You did that.
My bad.
And then Jocelyn back 3 flipped it.
Yeah.
So it's like both of the 3 flips have been done.
How was it filmed?
He says he doesn't agree. But anyway, I would like to see those tricks. Maybe I'm just dreaming in my own Chris Cole fantasy land.
By the way, there is a backside flip. It got taken out
We got to.
over that rail.
That's me. I took
love
the backside flip out. I was like, you can't go where you went and be so good at them and then go here.
Here's what I think that I love the fact that you guys, and I mean, you could see it in the videos that you've made, because they are iconic, but I just feel like sometimes these days those type of video parts are kind of few and far between, right? There's a lot of video parts. Everybody wants to get their stuff out there,
Right.
and the video part suffers because of that. I feel like sometimes because they're just putting in filler stuff. They're putting in as much. I'm going to get a Thrasher part. I'm going to get a Thrasher. They fill it up with
B-roll.
bullshit. I want the stuff. Just give me the good stuff.
Right.
That's what I want.
There's lots of dudes out there giving you the good stuff. Louis
I'm not
Lopez-
saying 100%,
Yeah.
but there's so many videos that are coming out on a
Yeah,
daily
if you
basis.
did percentage wise, there's some filler stuff.
Right.
And you know what? That serves a purpose. Like when people are just like trying to get their fix of something that they haven't seen before. It's super cool,
I get it, but
it's not.
is it going to leave an impact
is it
on
going
me?
Is it going to be Jeff Rowley? Sorry. Is it going to
This is all
carve?
about Chris
Mount
It's all about
Rushmore?
Chris, dude.
Is it going to be Mount Rushmore?
But I'm just saying, like,
But
I watch a zero part or zero video, I feel it. I feel something. I watch a girl, I
appreciate that,
feel
but
something.
You are nostalgic for that, and you also had some participation in those videos that we made. But wait, hang on a second. The videos that are coming out on Thrasher on a regular basis, they're pushing skateboarding forward, and they're uncovering all these types of skating and creative skating and skating from different places in the world. And they all serve a purpose in skateboarding. They may not be speaking to the heart of Chris Roberts, but they are serving a purpose, and they all make sense.
Totally.
If we resign to the fact that we're not going to like all the stuff that comes out.
Right. No, I agree with you. I'm just sometimes. I guess my point is like less is more. Right. I mean, we do come from that
it depends
era.
on the person for sure. It
Right?
depends on the person and how they envision their thing. And sometimes it's really cool to have that one wrestler that never comes out, like the Ultimate Warrior, and then he comes out and you're like, whoa, we never see him.
Sure.
But also
And
the spots too. You see spots, you're like, oh, but then you go there, you're like, oh, this is way gnarlier than it ever looks.
And that's
on footage.
happened
Oh my gosh.
forever.
Yeah,
That's
always.
That's always going to happen.
That's always happened.
Yeah,
you know
yeah.
what I mean? Like just I'd come out to California and I'd be like, they did what? Like there's a lot of dudes that live in LA that I'm very happy don't ever leave LA. They don't come to San Diego. I'm very excited about that. Because, like what they do up there, I go to those spots and I'm like, I don't want none of this. I don't want none of this after like what like Carlos did on it. You know what I mean? Like I'd be really lucky to like switch blunt it and he's like doing switch heel backsmith.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't want any of that. But I'm happy with the dynamic that Zero has and the buddy cop film that we do.
Yeah. No, I love it.
When's this part dropping?
I don't know.
Oh,
Got to fill 4 gaps.
Well, we
Yeah.
are it's taken a little bit to get a video project together, and so now we're contemplating on making a video.
Okay.
But we'll see if all the moons align to make that happen. If not, Cole will have a solo part.
There you go.
But we already got the song
All the
video
moons?
parts edited. Moons.
Yeah. Stars.
Oh, stars aligned. Yeah.
Yeah.
My bad.
The moon's aligned.
We're in Tatooine.
I was happy you did it. I was gonna do it.
Anyway,
Are you going to be filming for a part as well here, Jamie?
I'm working on my last part.
Get
Yeah.
Last
so-
part.
Yeah.
You
last
want
part.
one final hurrah.
I feel like I've put a lot into this career, and I've been at it for 28 and a half years.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to do one part on purpose where I know like this is it. I'm not going to go through this drill again. And right now I'm suffering. I'm only a fraction of the way in, but I started doing those skate your age things a few years ago.
Sure.
And then I thought to myself around 47, I was like, man, I'm coming up on 50. How cool would it be to do a part 50 for 50 in the streets?
Mm-hmm.
And that be it. That be
Right.
the final chapter of this stage of my life. That'll be my 30th year as a pro. And I just felt like, okay, I want to strive for that. So between 47 and 48, I put some time into trying to get that going, but I was still thinking VX. And then I started our VXs were breaking, and it was starting to become very difficult filming VX. Cole's part's all VX.
wow.
Wow.
Still
okay.
running it.
Yeah.
Nice.
Well, this is
For the
probably
Connoisseurs.
this is probably the last big VX projects that we're doing. We might do some small ones here and there, but it's not reliable enough for us anymore.
Yeah.
So you switched to HD.
So I everything I filmed from 47 to 48 got put away, and then I switched to HD. And after I did the 48 tricks, which was at Poods in October, and so in January I started filming for this 50 for 50.
Okay.
And I'm trying to wrap my head around what that will be like, and what that, I have a song idea, so I'm doing it the way I say is the best case scenario, where you score the skating to the song. I don't know if I'll be able to get the rights to the song, 'cause it's kind of a big song, but I'm willing to put the money down if it's possible.
Okay.
Amazing.
So yeah, I'm working on my last video part, and I say that with confidence. This is
the last one.
If I can make it to 50 tricks, I'm at 16 or 17 right now, and I'm trying to get 25.
But are we really going to keep it the 50 for 50? Like, why not
so many tricks for a video?
I mean, a good video part. What are we looking at? 20 tricks?
Didn't we talk about this before? Your episode?
I think we did.
Wasn't Heath Kirchhardt's sight unseen part? Isn't that like 16 tricks?
It could be. I don't remember exactly, but
if we do,
it's like a lot of double angles on things.
Jamie, from what I hear, you're already done with the part.
Yeah,
I have 2 minutes.
16.
That's not a part.
Tricks.
Okay, but well, that's what I was asking. If are we really going to do the 50 for 50?
I'm doing 50 for 50. I mean, unless I get hurt, and then and then if I feel like, I don't know. Obviously, like, I'm not in control of this. I think there's, I believe in God, and I am praying that if it's God's will for this to happen. I'm also trying to not be acting like I'm in control of this and act like all those 35 tricks are going to happen. I'm going to give it my best, and I put a goal out there to want to do that. I don't know what'll happen if something happens or I get hurt or it doesn't end up happening, but that's my goal.
Sure.
I'm shooting for 50 for 50, and the thing premieres on my birthday. Would that be tight? So I might as well set the goal there. But if you think, let's break it down real quick. All right, we're in the end of May. I'm at 16 tricks. I have about 5 or 6 tricks that I want to do in the next few weeks.
Okay. I'm
really motivated about it. And I'm trying to, my goal right now, and I talked to Gabbers about this the other day, is to try and film 2 tricks a week. So not film 2 tricks a week, because I can't always control that. But I'm at least making the effort 2 times a week to go out with a focused intention on getting a trick. With a trick in mind that I'm excited about, that I'm also capable of doing. So in the beginning, I went out and started setting myself up for failure in all sorts of different ways. Now I've kind of understood I need to really want to do the trick, not the trick just look good and I can imagine it being cool in my part. That was enough when I was young.
Right.
I would figure out the rest when I got there.
Yeah,
but nowadays I really need to feel it. I need to be enjoying myself. So I either need to be with a crew that I like to be around and that is motivating to me, or I need to be just so excited about trying the trick and looking forward to doing it that it actually happens.
Right.
So I'm trying 2 tricks a week for the next year and a half. My goal is to have 25 tricks by the end of summer. So then I would be halfway there, right?
Sure.
But then I still have a year and 3 months. So then I'm thinking, if I could buckle down and try and get to 50 by my birthday this year, which is about 6 months. 5 months. If I could get there and just have like a basis, then I could spend the next year making it better. Okay. So that is a dream. And when I dream about this, that's what I dream about. And I got the trick list, and I'm doing all the techniques that I used in my past days.
Okay.
But I'm trying to not slide into obsession and fall out of, like, my wife's talking to me and I'm just the empty vessel thinking about filming this weekend. And it's hard, man. Yeah. It's real hard. I will admit it's really hard to not have a death grip on the control of the outcome and to be completely obsessed with the outcome. I need to just enjoy the fact that I'm going out, I'm trying this.
We're still evolving. Here. We're still doing it.
And I've gotten, I don't know, I had this back in the day, but I have it again where I get real excited about outfits. A new outfit, I'm hyped on a trick. I'm getting a trick. If my socks and shirt match or something, like, I'm excited about it.
I love that.
If you look good, you feel good.
Yeah,
you feel good, you play good. You play good, they pay good.
That makes so much sense, bro.
Yeah, really. So when you guys see it, you'll be like, man, this guy's got ensembles everywhere. Felix Arguelles,
taking a page out of his book, huh?
I'm taking a page.
I've been there. I've seen the outfits. They're pretty good.
I'm taking a page out of his book.
Pretty cool. I get it.
It is no coincidence that I got on a red Zero crew neck that wasn't made with some red socks or something like that.
Do you ever match the spot on purpose?
Oh yeah.
If
I'm skating a yellow pole jam and I got a yellow hoodie in the closet, why am I not putting that on?
Right.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
The intention is high. The intention is high. And people may hate on it. They may not like it. I don't even care. I'm doing this for me, and I'm doing it my way.
Right.
So I'm in the zone, and I'm feeling it. And yeah.
Dude, I love whatever works, right?
Yeah.
I got a question. I've always wondered this. Now, Thrill of It All, Barracks Battle Commander, you use the same song.
Mm-hmm.
Why?
Well,
Time has come today.
I feel like Thrill of
You
It
know?
All. Thrill of It All was a really short part, and I didn't really give that song. I didn't really do the song justice.
Okay.
The Leap of Faith kind of got a bunch of eyeballs on the video, but no one ever really talks about the part before that. You know, there's some drop-ins and there's some lines here and there, but the part was kind of in between. It was in between Welcome to Hell and Misled Youth, and I was kind of struggling to find what I was going to do next. And I didn't really know what I was going to do. And we were starting zero, and we were just riding off stuff. So I felt like I didn't do the part justice.
Okay.
And with the Barracks project, I was focused. I also had a skate park. You got a lot of perfect spots. And I felt like I can give this thing a solid 3 minutes and make it good and do the song justice.
Okay.
So that was kind of my goal.
You wanted to redo almost.
Kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wanted to get a little bit further in the song. I also saw that song had so many opportunities for slow-mos and stuff that I really didn't use. Like the
Got
first
you.
time the slow-mo came up, the part was over, you know? And so I felt like, yeah, I didn't do it justice.
It's
And-
such a good song,
And the
too.
Righteous Brothers are so righteous, so I wanted to do them.
And you got legends in there in the part too, like
And
guest skaters.
That's when the Barracks was like brand new, so you had options there. It wasn't. It was
Right.
not destroyed.
There was no
So
MBDs.
Yeah.
That's what I said. They were like, "Hey, we want you to do a Battle Commander." I'm like, "When's the new park open?"
Yeah.
I'm not doing it at that old one. That old one is destroyed.
Yeah.
It is
Yeah,
such a
definitely
good
got
song.
destroyed.
So you wanted to redo. I can understand that. I can understand.
Yeah.
I've always wondered that though. I was like, why did he use this in Thrill of
And
It
then
All?
I didn't know what to do with this, and I tried to make it interesting, so that's why I brought in
You
all
got
the different boards.
Different boards, right?
Sexy
Chris
ass.
Cobra Cole.
Yeah.
There it is. Okay.
Oh.
And you're even riding a weird board too.
Yeah, the Freddy Krueger shirt on
That
too.
was
That was
kind of
his Freddy sweater from
Yeah.
Circa, and I kept it in like my keepsake, and then brought it out for this.
And then we were skating this era together, but not skating in the streets that much. So I invited him to this, and it was almost like the other legends that I invited into this because we weren't hanging that much. But out of respect for everything we've done, he showed up like a true professional and
Sick.
handled business on the weird boards.
I forgot that I did. I thought I had one trick.
You got a bunch.
He killed it.
You blacked out again.
He's
Luckily,
blacked
this
out.
wasn't a number game.
Who are you? Who am I?
Who am I? That's amazing, dude.
Anyway,
Yeah.
so that's
it. Okay.
That's my part
Ooh,
project.
That's it. That's it.
Let me ask one thing real quick. This is definitely being that I'm in my 40s now. What did you guys envision in yourselves at 16 that you would be in this position? Is it something that you would have never thought, or is it something that like I knew I was going to be in this position?
Inconceivable.
Right?
I had no idea I would live past 30. I couldn't even imagine that. People seem so old at 30 that I was like, I'm never living that long. I don't know what I thought was going to happen. I used to talk about skating off some building or something, just like killing myself because I couldn't imagine being old.
Right.
I couldn't imagine it at all. So yeah, it's been a very gradual process, this getting old thing.
No doubt. No doubt.
Yeah.
No doubt. I mean, and for you too, Chris. Like, I mean, you know.
Yeah, it's what's funny is I don't know. I couldn't imagine it happening. Like I couldn't imagine what it was, but what drove us all to do it. Like I actually had some clarity on today. I was kind of thinking about that, and I was like, more so than like the search for acceptance and things like that we all go through. I think there were like hero stories and things like that. Like as a kid, I would watch like G.I. Joe, right? And they're like, they all have a skill set where they're killing it and they're like buff and like rad, right? And then you have, and then you have ninjas, and ninjas are all good at stuff. And like the football stars that I loved watching, and it was like Jordan era Bulls and things like that. And so I was like, they had something special. And so it wasn't that I wanted what they had. It was that I wanted some special for me, whatever that was.
Right.
Man, you got it.
Yeah,
You got
no
it,
doubt,
man.
dude.
You got all buff and rad
Yeah.
along the way.
I didn't even get buff, but
but you're rad.
I love how all his callbacks are like Zoolander, G.I. Joe. You relate everything to like.
Now you know what
pretty-
tours like with Cole.
Loves it, dude.
It's pretty spectrumy.
What was one of the what are the some of the soundtracks that were going on in the van back then?
Oh, dude.
Albums.
Actually, all the soundtracks that were in the van were always Jamie figuring out what the next project was. So he got this. He got this punk like box set thing for New Blood, and all these songs that ended up in everybody's parts in New Blood were on those CDs. Like a lot of those songs, like Garrett's song and stuff, they were in this like box set thing. I remember it was yellow. That's all I remember about it.
Now, are you just yourself looking for that song, or are you trying to see a reaction to somebody? And
I think I'm letting the guys in on what it is that I'm trying to create.
Okay.
Like, hey, this is what I was feeling for the video, and I thought this would be a great intro song. What do you guys think? I thought this would be a great credit song. What do you guys think?
Okay.
And people are like, oh, I could see it, or I hate this song. You know, but a lot of times
doing like a focus group,
kind
almost.
of a focus group. And
Totally.
I've been in my own world about it. And usually I start with things on my own, and then I'm going to get feedback from the guys. I mean, and that's really what Zero is now. We have like a little room that's a think tank. People come in, and we're showing them graphics, we're showing them ideas, we're talking about things, we're going through video parts, and it's basically a think tank where everybody comes in and gives, and everybody weighs in, and we take everyone's feedback. And a lot of times I'll get outvoted on stuff too, not video related in so much, but I'll get outvoted on graphics or colorways or ringer tees or whatever. And I just go, all right, well, I'm outvoted, you know, especially if it gets heavy, if it gets like 4-1.
Oh, wow.
You know, but
Gotta give it up.
sometimes it does.
Sure,
get to 4-1. And I'm just like, well, if I'm the stick in the mud, let me get myself out of the way, because this, and I ask myself, what does this really matter? This is one board.
It's a ringer tee.
This is one t-shirt.
Yeah, right.
So I used to not do that. I used to, you know how they say pick and choose your battles? I used to choose all the battles.
Every battle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was
Grab the nearest sword and just run to meet everybody in the field.
Yeah, it was tiresome for the people around me for about a decade. Sure. But yeah, that guy's gone. He's left the building.
He's gone.
So,
He's out of here.
yeah.
Thank God he had some good ideas though, because that dude would have sucked with like stinkers and only stinkers.
People wouldn't have ridden for the brand. So
Yeah.
it worked because there was some good ideas, but at the same time, the guy didn't need to be so unreasonable.
Would you realize that now, though? You know.
Yeah, you mature, you grow, and it really helps to really fail, to really suffer the consequences, and to have that ego checked.
Get humbled a little bit.
Way
Yeah.
back. Yeah.
Right.
It gives you full perspective right there.
Yeah. It's good, man. That's why I said best thing ever happened to me.
I want to also ask you, before we wrap this up, I want to ask you about, we talked about board companies, we talked about shoe companies, but you're on a clothing company called Roark, right? Mm-hmm. And I love this because like you've gotten to travel a lot with them. Mm-hmm. Not only do they make great clothes, I see a little thing right now. I'd like one of those little get investigated. Yeah, little, investigate a little bit. But you get to travel a lot with them and go to like interesting places, which I think is rad. And that is such a essence of skateboarding, you know, and it's such a big perk to skating is traveling.
I mean, part of it is, traveling with skating with the crews for years has been amazing. Mm-hmm. But what's been cool about the Roark trips is that I've been able to see life through like this whole other lens where it's not really about skating. And oftentimes the places I'm skating are absolutely terrible. It's like bricks or cobblestone, or like the photo for the campaign is me ollieing on the deck of a boat. Like sometimes it's really not conducive to skating, and that makes it interesting and kind of cool in the photos and stuff. Mm-hmm. But it makes it very challenging when I want to bring something to the table, and we're skating such turd spots that it's really difficult to do. So, but I've been able to skin dive and explore and cliff jump and do all this stuff. Yeah. So they released a book. 10 years, and these are some of the photos that were in the book. That's in India.
Well, I think it's amazing. It almost reminds me of like Kenny Reed. It is a
little bit that. So
the Traveler.
Yeah. Fallen made this video called Road Less Traveled, and it had us going to places that people weren't really going to skate as often. And we made a little documentary about it. These guys saw it and were like, hey, we feel like you'd be a great fit. I mean, I approached them first at a trade show just because I thought the brand was so cool and I saw all these places they were already traveling. So I like volunteered myself. But then after they kind of looked into it, I was at a place for my career where it wasn't really about tricks anymore so much. I mean, I'm trying to do this last part and it's obviously about tricks. Sure. But for a large part, it wasn't really about tricks. It was just about like skateboarding and living and the lifestyle of it all. So it was a really great time in my career to join these guys and travel around. Like we traveled around for 5 straight years before COVID. Or 4 years before COVID, and we went, two crazy places per year for 4 years.
Wow!
So it was a blast. And then since COVID, the traveling's been a little bit spottier, but still traveling. And I have that contract. I have another year and a half,
Sick.
and it's pretty much through the 50.
Amazing.
50 tricks.
Yeah. So they've supported me and really just given me another outlet to see the world, different than,
I love it.
when we go to cities, we don't really see the like backcountry.
We're not doing tourist stuff
No.
when we go
No.
skating into different countries.
And they're doing it, but they're doing it like in this really real way where they hire a guide to take you into the like unknown of this area that's really cool that they've researched.
That's right.
So, I mean, the brand's cool. They send somebody on a scout mission. They explore a certain region of the world. They take all the influence. They design a line around it. When they get all the samples, they take their whole crew on this mission to shoot the marketing campaign. And then the whole campaign is around that trip.
Wow.
Everything, the clothing and everything's designed around a trip.
Around a
So
region.
the India trip, they made clothing that revolved around that.
Yeah, so they brought like all these white blank stance socks there and had them indigo dyed because that's a tradition that they do in India.
Wow.
And they look for, local people to make things. They make limited edition stuff. And then your boat captain on one trip, like there's like a board short named after the boat captain, and all these elements that you see along the way, they all get integrated into the product for the storytelling. They're like basically
I love
master
that.
storytellers.
I love that.
Yeah, it's fun, man. It's an adventure. That's the best way to put it.
Where was the most interesting place you went to?
The first trip I went on was Vietnam, and I'd never been to Vietnam.
Yeah.
And so those first photos where I'm jumping off a cliff and riding a motorcycle all through the countryside of Vietnam outside of Hanoi was amazing. And I'd never been there, and it was like the first trip, and it was crazy. And we stayed on a boat, like a junket, like a Chinese junket sailboat, those big wood boats.
Yeah.
You could jump off all the different areas of the boat, and I learned backflips off the boat. And I'd never learned backflips, always wanted to, but we were like parked in we were parked in Ha Long Bay for like 4 days. And so I had plenty of time. We were just marinating, going on these little, kayaking journeys and then cliff jumping journeys, all these little exploration missions. And there was some times where I would just be on the boat chilling with like one other dude for like 8 hours. There's no cell service. There's no computers. So, so I was like, man, can you teach me backflips? So I learned backflips, and then I backflipped off every height on the boat, just all hyped on it. And anyway, man, it's I think the Vietnam trip was probably the most epic because it was the first trip I went on. But we went to Russia, India, Jamaica, Japan, Montana. Montana was during COVID. We weren't.
Montana.
It's so sick though. So sick.
All these gnarly places, and then Montana.
Yeah, we weren't flying, so we got on motorcycles and drove through the.
Oh, you did a ride out there?
Yeah.
Oh, that's sick.
Wow.
That's a lot of miles on a bike.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't ride to there. We flew there and then rode all around.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Some nice clothes on here, man.
Yeah,
Great
it's
clothes.
amazing. Definitely.
Yeah, they're
My
good.
goodness.
Is there any other skaters that skate for this company?
No,
Or
it's just
you?
me.
Dope.
Yeah.
Oh.
And I've brought on a few people on the trips to kind of skate with me and be a part of it. Jono at Rides for Zero, he went on a trip to Indonesia, and luckily he did. I was coming off of an injury, and he held it down to skate. Yeah, I just had to do the skate modeling photos. I skated a little bit, but I wasn't in a good frame of mind in order to be able to really produce.
One of the things that happens on a trip with a very, very skilled photographer like that is you as a human being, not just a skater, get these heirloom photos, like these photos that will live on, that you'll will pass down in your family and stuff like that, which are like they live forever, and they're like these beautiful photos, and you're like, I can't believe Like I've gotten my photo taken a lot, and most of it has been at the ledge.
Right,
you know?
right.
It's at the local spot. It's not these cool photos that are compelling more than just making people want to skate.
Oh, for sure.
You know?
For sure.
Being in that book was a trip, just to be able to have photos like he's mentioning that I never would have been able to have otherwise. So yeah, it's been a blessing to travel. Such good dudes too, and I love connecting with all the guys on the trips and seeing all these crazy places. We're working on a book actually right now, which is
another one.
That was the Roark book. That was a 10 years of Roark book.
Yep.
And then now we're working on a book of my travels specifically with Roark. And so
sick.
half the photos will be of me and half will be the photos I shot on these trips.
Right.
And it'll be of the guys on the trips or locals on the trips or whatever. But the goal within this next period of time is to celebrate, all of my travels with Roark. And and I've never done a book before, so I'm excited about a book project.
There you go.
That's rad.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it, man.
Like a coffee table type book?
Mm-hmm.
Sick.
Yeah, it'll be a photo book with like some, words telling kind of I think it'll be destination based. Breaking into each of the destinations that I got to go to with them, and then have the best like 8 or 10 photos from each destination.
Okay.
Over the years.
Very cool.
With a little bit of just text and what it was like, and what. Yeah, I think that's kind of the premise of it. But I don't think it's going to be a huge book, but I'm excited to have a book.
It's amazing,
world.
bro.
Yeah.
To be involved in that book alone was amazing, but to have like some photo shows with photos that I've shot and that have been a shot of me, and to have a book and have it go out, it's just one more thing that I always thought would be amazing, but I never really thought I'd have the opportunity, and with Roark it's possible.
I love it.
Check it off the
mean,
bucket
you guys
list.
are doing rad stuff, going on rad trips, rad clothes. Stoked.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Buff and rad.
Buff, yeah.
Buff and rad.
Buff and
G.I.
rad.
Joe.
That's going to be the title of my book.
Buff and rad.
I just have to get buff.
Yeah. You got that,
I'll
dude.
take the rad title now, but I need the buff.
Buff and rad. What are you doing for clothing? You members only now? Look at this.
That'd be sick, right?
Oh, I would take a members only sponsor
Right?
any day
Just
of the
the
week.
same jacket over and over again.
For sure.
Every
You're like,
colorway.
hey, you
though.
guys ever think about making pants? I'd be, nope.
Just
Members
the
only.
jackets.
Just a jacket. Same one. Racer jacket.
This has been amazing.
Yes, it has.
You guys you can come back anytime. Feel free. This has been incredible. I don't know. Do we have anything else?
There's probably a lot.
There's so much. We
so much.
unpacked a
Really
lot
Yeah.
today.
Closed mouth doesn't get fed. You better ask it now.
I got one last question. Corey Duffel, supposed to be on Fallen, had an ad.
Careful what you wish for.
What happened? Had an ad.
We had a deal, and then he had a clothing sponsor that, at the time I really wanted him to be on the footwear and apparel.
Mm-hmm.
I think part of that was just that I felt like, this is a controlling stage of my life, but I'll admit that. I'll preface with that.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought that it would be helpful for him to be on the apparel and him to design his own apparel, so we could have like a little more control of I don't know what you'd call this, the products that he made and the things that he was involved in, because the apparel company he was writing for at the time, I didn't see that it was a great fit with Fallen. And he had mentioned that he had maybe wanted to do something different, but it came down to the fact that he said he did want to ride for the footwear and apparel. And I sent him a contract, and we were like, everything's good, and then I believe it was two items. One was, I think he wanted a little more money than what we'd agreed upon, and then he didn't want to leave his apparel brand, which it's understandable.
Gotcha.
I don't think I was in a place to understand it at the time, because I really had a focus. I really had some sort of mindset around what I thought should happen.
Sure.
And I don't think I was very flexible and very, awesome to deal with at the time. But both things kind of added up to be too much, and it had kind of been a lot of back and forth, and it really wasn't like going. It was difficult. A lot of the negotiation was difficult. And it could have been him, could have been me, could have been a combination of both, probably was.
Sure.
And he'd gone on a trip with us as well, and that trip, he was very productive and got a lot of stuff done, but it also wasn't, the chemistry wasn't flowing really that well. And so the chemistry of the trip, another trip might have rectified that and everything might have been great. But after the chemistry of that trip, combined with the contract kind of back and forth, and it really wasn't panning out, we weren't seeing eye to eye, I decided to pull it.
Okay.
And so what we did was we sent the Skateboard Mag a new ad and said, hey, please pull this Duffel ad. This isn't going to work out. And here's the new ad. They said, yes, no problem. We got it. Got the new ad confirmed. There's plenty of time. No problem. And then they didn't swap the ads out.
They didn't swap it.
So his ad ended up going into print at the Skateboard Mag. They held good on it. I don't know if you guys remembered, but I had a pull-out poster a few issues later, which was a front board down at Kink Ledge in LA, and they gave us a pull-out poster to make up for the fact that they ran
They messed up.
So great dudes, great my friends, and we had to look silly a little bit.
I don't think things happen.
Things
right?
do happen, yeah.
What can you do?
Yeah.
I love the fact that I ask a question. Chris is just sitting here giggling the whole time because I feel like he already knows the answer, and he's just like,
I was on that trip.
This is great.
It's a little uncomfortable to talk about,
Sure.
because Corey and I are friends, and we've had a lot of communication. We did a guest board with him on Zero a few years ago, which went amazing, and there's a lot of mutual respect. But at this point, this is 15 years ago, and it just didn't pan out, didn't work out,
And I think people have to just realize that it doesn't always work out in this skateboarding world that we live in. I mean,
take Taylor Swift's relationships for example.
Oh, there we go. I'm devastated by
always
that.
work
I'm
out.
devastated.
Doesn't work
I don't even
out.
know who's in a relationship with.
Devastated.
Your references are
Super weird.
Yeah.
I'm surprised Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles didn't get brought
Also,
up.
I don't know how Roger's doing it right, but the screen right here has the members only jackets pulled up.
You got
Ready to show.
We got the slim
so
fit.
every time I look at
He
Chris,
got the site back up.
he's got.
Slate.
The site from
I mean,
1985.
look at all these colors.
Dude.
This is the one
I need to hit him up.
That looks like
'cause we
Ian
just
from
That does
hooked
look
him
like
up.
Ian. That is Ian. No. This
there
is
it
one
is.
I
There's
had.
your jacket.
I had the burgundy.
We all had one of these jackets.
Size up.
Yeah.
I have not had one.
Size
No?
up?
Size
Oh
up.
yeah, you're too young.
Fourth grade, 1984.
See?
It's
When
a,
I was born.
It's a racer jacket.
Is
It's
this
a size up.
Is this a slim fit? Is this the slim fit? Listen, I need.
Does it have different fits?
I don't know. Look at all
It
the
does look a
stuff
little
they
young. It
have.
looks a little young. It looks short.
Classic, iconic.
Oh well, I got it cuffed. But I got it cuffed. It's
Just the way you show your arm right there, that's pretty good.
but yeah, I mean it's a racer jacket, so it's short.
I love it. Brings back memory. He walked in. And I was like, members only jacket. I didn't even know they still made them. I'm gonna order my burgundy one just for
Old time's sake.
old time's sake. Yeah,
Dude, cop up.
dude, this has been incredible. Dude, Jamie Thomas, Mr. Chris Cole. Dude, thank you guys so much for coming by.
Yes, sir.
Thanks for having
This
us.
is incredible.
I had fun.
Did you?
I had fun learning about my own life that I forgot about.
I will say I want to rewind back to one thing.
Please.
One thing is I talked about that I was the last one on board for Cole getting back on Zero.
Mm-hmm.
But since he got on Zero, it has been amazing.
Right.
So I didn't really
And now everybody else is the last one on board.
You didn't
No.
preface that,
no,
right?
not preface it. I didn't chime in at the end and talk about how good it's been to work with him, skate with him, see him around the office, and how we were able to rekindle a relationship that was really special. We spent a lot of years on the road together. We roomed together like 90% of the time on all those trips. And so, we had a long-term friendship, and it's been cool to rekindle that. And even if we don't hang out every day, and, he hangs out with the rest of the crew a lot more because I'm doing other stuff now, but it's still great. And it's, even from the launch, the boards, so crazy, all the fans were excited, just skateboarding, in general, I felt like
Loved it.
embraced that.
Oh,
yeah.
It was such a good, because how many years did he spend off Zero? It was 5 years,
Something like that.
which didn't even seem like that
5 to
long, but it
6.
seemed like a
Maybe
long.
6.
It
Okay,
seemed longer.
seemed
for some-
long.
Yeah.
Yeah,
for sure.
but it's
Yeah,
good.
you're
It's
telling me.
when something makes sense in skateboarding, and we're just maybe used to it also, like, and we see it kind of be rekindled, and it's like you went back home, right?
Right.
And all of us outside looking in are just like ecstatic
Yeah.
that that's where you belong,
Totally.
Like, did the Plan B thing, was that where Chris Cole belonged? I don't think so, right? It's like Zero.
Well, because there was only one place where I belonged. So even if I had started my own company,
Right.
it was like, it would have to be a clone of Zero with a four-letter name that's like
Cole.
out of the same place. You know, it would have to be.
Oh, Mitt.
Yeah, it would have to. Yeah, exactly. It would have to be something out of Zero.
Yeah.
Did you think about starting your own company?
It was funny because like at that time, it was like you can start something yourself, but you're gonna have to run something yourself. You know what I mean? And there were plenty of like suitors in that zone that were like trying to get me to do stuff, but like I said, I wouldn't even answer texts back. Like there wasn't like having that on my plate on top of things, especially like boards are tough. That is a tough biz, and
especially nowadays.
I mean, so to dive in to be like, you know what? Like, I know where home is, but I'm going to do this other thing that's like a really rocky road for nothing.
Right.
I mean, being in the business, I think boards are the easiest.
Really?
Well, you got a wood shop that there's only 3 to choose from, really, or maybe 4, and you know where you can get the product made. If you're going to make jeans, where the heck are you going to go to get
sourcing
jeans
is
made?
easy.
True.
Sourcing
Wait,
is easy.
hang on a second. Yeah, so sourcing's easy. You can go to the skate shop and pull 6 boards off the wall, 1 of each size, take those to the factory and say, make all these. So now you got your shapes and your source. And then now you just got to figure out what pictures to put on them. And I feel like, any brand, you're going to have to go through the branding exercise. You're going to have to go through the visionary process. You're going to have to go through who is my customer. You're going to have to go through all that. And then you're going to have to go through the team. But the skateboards, for me, is like the easiest, fastest way to put the pictures on.
The manufacturing part of it.
Yeah. You get into apparel. You got all the fits. You got minimums that are like 500 pieces. And then we haven't even gotten the footwear yet.
Or the ringers.
They were easy, man.
They're real easy. They already
Like
exist. You just
sold
put a logo on
themselves.
them. Anyway, my point is that I feel like a clothing and footwear brand is more difficult.
I would definitely agree with that. I think what's difficult nowadays is there's so many board companies, right? Back in the day, Jamie, it was Zero, it was Habitat,
What
it was
day are we
Alien,
talking about?
It was Girl, Chocolate. Well,
What day are we talking about? Because like in the early 90s, things were popping up everywhere. It was all crazy. People were starting little brands.
but
but now it's like everybody that's not on the big company just has their own company. So each individual pro, like it would be like I get off Zero, I have my own board company.
I'll back it.
Dubs, his own board company.
Right.
Kelly, own board company.
Back it.
Robert, own board company.
Back it.
And we're just like looking for like maybe we have one other dude on,
Right,
like
right.
each of the teams. It's just
But
like I don't know.
I support it all.
Juice
man.
ain't worth the squeeze.
But that's what
not
you
for
said.
me.
You said that process though about how easy it is to get it done. That's why everyone can do it.
that is right.
100%.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
why I'm saying that people are popping off board brands all over the
Oh
place.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
For sure.
And
Oh,
it makes
This
sense
is normal
for them.
now. This is normal.
It makes sense for them because that's going to happen if there are like a couple big companies, like for instance the footwear game, right? There are a couple big companies, and if you don't fit into those things, there's blood in the streets, right?
right.
But footwear is so hard to do. Otherwise, everybody would just do it,
Yeah.
right? Because
Yeah, it's
because there's a billion dudes without shoe sponsor.
Yeah.
The barrier to entry is greater.
Yeah.
You got to pay for molds. You got
It's
to
gnarlier.
you got to really know what you're doing or be willing to risk it for the biscuit.
True.
And I feel like the board brand, you can make 50 pieces and see how it goes. And then if that goes okay, you can keep making more. And if not, well, whatever. It was just an experiment.
It was a thing,
And that's
right.
exactly why it's being done.
Yeah, it's like a T-shirt company.
Right.
I feel like a T-shirt company and a board company are, with the board company, you get the T-shirt company too.
That's true. And you get to change your profile to entrepreneur.
Entrepreneur. I've been waiting to change that forever. Man. Entrepreneur.
I back all the small companies. I back the skate shops making boards. I used to be so stuck up about all this, but I just back anybody going out there and having a vision and carrying that vision out in whatever small way, big way. And when something takes hold and goes crazy, I'm there to celebrate. Like, that is sick.
That's awesome. That's exactly
happening
what
for
you
them.
did.
It
back
is.
in the day.
I think I was, not. I don't know. I wasn't always in that headspace, but I think skateboarding needs all types. I think it needs little brands,
Totally.
big brands,
Yeah.
weird brands that support LGBTQ plus.
Yep.
I feel like there needs to be a brand for everything, and I feel like that's cool because people are doing it, and
Definitely.
and that keeps it all fresh and original. And
Absolutely.
there still are there still are those iconic brands that won't die, that just want to, that keep going.
For sure.
You got the ones that have been around for 40 years, and then you got your 30s, and your, Zero's 27.
Wow.
Wow.
30,
awesome.
man. Congrats.
And we're working on it.
Yeah.
Toy Machine's 30 this year.
Toy Machine's 30. Girl,
So is
girl
August.
30.
Yep. I remember
Dude.
that. Back to the City.
Yeah.
Yep.
Back to the city.
That was a moment, bro.
Yeah, it was a moment.
Everybody was wearing the girls' shirts.
93 till infinity.
Yes, it is.
Man,
Um,
I hear you though. I hear you.
Yeah,
I think it's
I'm a
awesome.
fan, man. I want to see it all happen. It's really hard to keep up with it all. I will admit that.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know who the new hot skater is. I don't know who the hot brand is. Like a lot of times, I'm, Dane basically comes in the office and keeps me, updated.
Yeah.
He's basically the dude that's spending more time than the rest of us on social media, so he knows what's up.
Yeah.
He sees every part.
Yeah, I go to him and ask him like about what this is. Who's this?
Okay.
Who is this person? Where are they from?
Nice.
He's my
He
encyclopedia.
also has a really, really, really good recall and memory for that stuff. So, like, you can describe a spot, and he knows exactly what spot you're talking about. Whereas you can describe a spot to me, tell me what trick I did on it, and I still don't know what it is. But, like, you have a vague description, and you have a couple items wrong, and he'll be like, it's a green rail, and it's not in Sorrento Valley. It's actually in, like, Ukaipa.
Yeah, I was just randomly going to say Ukaipa, dude. I was going to say Ukaipa. I don't know
both
why.
were?
I was going to say Ukaipa.
That's
I don't
weird.
know why I was going to say
Dude,
Ukaipa.
that's
Super weird.
You guys have tuned into each other's energy.
It's the weirdest name ever.
But yeah,
Ukaipa.
Dane is sharp. He's a student of the game,
Love
and
that.
he is always working. He is probably the biggest motivator at Zero for
Sick.
everything to happen.
I love it.
Nice.
He's
Yeah.
my handrail Sherpa.
Yeah,
She's your
Like,
shirt.
straight up.
he
Like,
will find it. He will will it into existence.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't do any big rails without Dane there.
Yeah.
Dude, one of my favorite moments at Tampa last year was when you and him started talking about skate tricks at like the bar. We were like, fakey front crook. It's really
Oh my god. Yep. And he's just like,
fakey switch crook is actually a fakey susky. Remember we started talking about?
yeah, because he'll break down this, like, you can't go switch after popping regular, right?
Yeah.
So there are those things, like when you do a fakey nose grind, right? That's not a fakey switch 5-0.
Yeah.
But then we say certain things that are off, right?
Yeah.
Like back 180 switch front crook.
Yeah.
Like isn't that, but it would get confusing if you said what it is.
There's not a name
Right.
for it.
Yeah.
Fakey front crook. There's not a name.
Yeah,
for it.
there's not.
there isn't.
So
That was fun. I started realizing, like, oh man, I'm talking to some skate nerds like myself right now.
Yeah.
But you guys were it was pretty good.
I would have gone and got a drink at this point in the
You
conversation.
don't even drink
I would have-
anymore? Like,
I think that's what I did. I was like, hey, they're having a conversation over here. Dane, you want in? And then I was like, have fun, boys. And I bailed.
Talk to Kelly. over here.
Tagged him in, bro.
Oh, that was fun.
This has been amazing, man. Jamie Thomas, thank you so much.
Oh, my
Let me
pleasure.
get, bro, come on. Bro, Jamie Thomas. Chris Cole. Thank you guys so much and come back anytime.
Definitely, bro.
We'd love to have you back again and again and again.
Yeah,
So,
whoever you
should
got.
we just hit you up or?
Please.
All right.
Yeah.
But thank you. It's been great to be
Oh,
here.
my gosh.
You asked some really hard questions, and Cole, I love you. Sorry if I made you feel uncomfortable in any of those answers, but
No.
You kind of praised him, to be honest.
yeah.
Definitely.
All right, all right.
More praising than
Yeah.
yeah.
Pretty good.
all right.
Good stuff.
I'm just trying to be honest over here and trying to hold it down.
I love
like
it.
the
Did a
honest-
great job,
I like
bro.
the compliment sandwich.
Hey, looking forward to your video part and the 50 for
Both of
50.
them, yes.
2 video
I
parts
got to
coming
get
out
through
from
49 for 49 at a skate park somewhere this year. I'm not looking forward to that. Last few years, I was looking forward to it. This year, I'm not.
Yeah.
You should film one trick
flat
on.
ground, shove it.
Yeah, just do flat ground tricks.
Shove.
You could do that. Yeah.
Not always shove.
What's that?
I was going to say you should film one. You should have saved some from your last birthday for this one.
Dude, it was 4 hours last birthday. I didn't have time for extra tricks then.
Wait, so you actually filmed it on your birthday, or did you film it before?
I filmed it 3 days before, but I did all 48 tricks in one day, and that
That's
took
where
me
you're
3
fucking
hours
up.
and 3 hours and 45 minutes. I think that's the test, though. It's like a marathon.
Oh
Definitely.
yeah.
That's the resiliency test. Do you still got it? Can you still put it down like that in one day? I thought I might fail last year. I was like, I started 3 days before, so I would have a recovery day in between when my birthday of actually doing it. So I gave myself time to fail, in case it didn't work.
Smart.
I was gonna come back 2 days later and try again.
Same outfit.
Wow.
That's how I did running gun.
No, I would have ditched
Running
everything.
gun stuff.
Oh, you would have
Start over.
I
scratched
would've started
everything.
over.
Oh,
Well,
wow.
I just see it as a practice round. You know, if you went like these guys do a 28 trick warm up. David Ray
do.
started it doing all the switch flips, all the switch heels, all the 180s.
Oh, I saw that actually recently.
Yeah.
That was
So
pretty
they
cool.
do that on a daily basis. So they're halfway to my 48 just in that game.
Right.
Anyway,
So
I would have
fucked
just
up
seen
game.
it as a warm up, a conditioning exercise.
Yeah.
But it's hard. I don't go to the skate. I'm right now because I'm in this video part mode. I'm not going to the skate park that often. I'm not skating flat ground that often. I tried to film 6 tricks on flat ground yesterday for a stray Instagram post, and I was like, my flat ground is rusty. I'm focused on one trick at a time for this part, and I'm moving on to the next trick. One trick at a time, next trick, and I'm not just going to the park and skating flat ground every day, which is what I do when I'm just normally skating and not working on a part. I'm just trying to enjoy skating and stay sharp.
Are you real quick? Are you, if you have a trick in mind, are you only trying that trick until you land it and then go to the next one, or is it kind of? I got
It depends. It depends on if I have 2 failed missions, I pull off and go and divert my energy because I'm building a snowball and I don't want something to derail that snowball into no momentum and start making me feel like I don't got the whole deal.
Yeah.
So I try and keep the momentum going. And if I have something take me off, one failure is okay. That's just a bad day. You know, that can happen to anybody, get kicked out or whatever. But if I come back again and it starts to feel like work, I realize this isn't going to happen at 48 feeling like work. It needs to
be fun.
It needs to teeter on the edge of work and enjoyment. And there has to be an element of enjoyment, or I'm just like looking at Vin, our filmer, and going like, sorry, man, I'm gonna give you a hug and I'm out of here. That's happened already. I'm in that mode, you know.
Right.
But this will be the most difficult part I've ever filmed. I know that without a doubt. It will be a marathon.
Well, we're looking forward
Yeah,
to it.
Yeah, we definitely are.
If
looking forward to it.
it all happens, but
It will. You already manifested, bro. It's happening.
I mean, you said you got 2 minutes already, so.
But it
keep
ain't
on
about the
keeping
time.
on,
It's
man.
about the number.
It's about Jamie Thomas.
I mean, some of the tricks are basic. There's going to be an ollie. There's going to be flat ground tricks. There's going to be a kickflip on flat. It's going to be one of the 50. So, you know what I mean? Like some of the tricks aren't going to be. It's not all bangers either. I'm trying to have fun out there.
Last part, as long as you're happy with it and you're stoked, that's what matters.
I don't know if that'll ever happen. It hasn't happened yet.
You haven't been stoked on any of your parts that you've ever come out with.
Not until the next year, until I've surrendered that they weren't what I wanted them to be.
Okay, so now you can.
Yeah, now I can look at them all and be just grateful that I was able to do that stuff once upon a time.
But back then, no.
No.
You weren't satisfied at all.
No, I was obsessed.
Insatiable.
Yeah, it's
I
insatiable.
mean, we are our own worst critic. So
It's just that you keep moving the goalpost, right? You envision what you're capable of, and once you reach that, you're like, oh, now this is what I can see that I'm capable of, and you keep pushing the goalpost. So therefore, you'll never. Most people that have pushed the boundaries in anything, and not saying that that's all me or anything, but anyone that's pushed the boundaries, that curse is a part of the equation. It's just like, I got to keep pushing myself because I know more is possible. And then you get hurt and you get sidelined for a bit. And then you're just thankful to push again. You're just thankful to roll. And then it starts all over. I start building that. So right now I'm really trying to keep that in check. I pray about it daily. Like God, let this be your will, not my will. Like, let me not be trying to force this thing into existence. Let me go out and do my part, but be open to what happens. And so that's the difference. I'm trying to not be in the driver's seat with my.
I love it.
Yeah, your will can't be trusted.
That's it, man. I think my wife will attest to that. She's not gonna listen to this, but
Yeah. That's long. I hear you talk all the time.
yeah, she's like, I ain't trying to listen to you talk for 3 hours.
this is great. Thank you guys so much for
Thank
coming
you
by.
guys.
It's
Hell
been-
yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Till next time, everybody.
Yeah.
Jamie Thomas, Chris Cole.
Nice.